TSN and TSN Plus.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
I told you long ago on the road, I got what they waiting for. Don't run from nothing, dog. Get your soul. Just tell them ain't laying low.
OverDrive off and running. It is Tuesday, August 18th. Mike DeStefano filling in for Brian Hayes. Frank Corrado, my guy, with me for the next 3 hours. We're up on TSN 1050, TSN 2, and live up on YouTube. What's happening, pal?
What's up, buddy? Great to be back.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. It's been a while. Gives a little bit of like Leaf lunch vibes.
Yeah, a
You know,
little
being
throwback
back
to the
here.
old days, LL.
Every once in a while, Julia needed the day off. Come in, fill in. It's all good. Nice to hang out. I was thinking about you recently, actually.
Why is that?
I don't know why this has happened, but do you find that your Twitter algorithm will just randomly go through like phases of things that pop up all the time? Like, I'll give you an example. And this is nothing to do with what I like or what I bookmark, but Sydney Sweeney with those American Eagle jeans was all over my timeline.
Yes.
Everywhere I looked, it was there no matter what. The Coldplay CEO guy was everywhere. Like, you couldn't avoid it.
No.
So certain things happen, and you're like, okay, this is filling up my timeline right now. And in the last week or so, all I'm seeing is people fighting on cruise ships. And I don't know
Really?
why. Like, I don't know why this is happening. I'm not seeking this out. I'm not looking for people fighting on cruise ships. I'm not.
Have you been looking into a cruise?
I trust
Because you know how the internet works,
Buddy.
where it's like if you put in your Google search, all of a sudden everything you're looking up on the internet is going to send you some cruise stuff.
No offense. The last thing I'm looking up is to go on a cruise. I'm not a cruise person.
I'm kind of offended, not going to lie.
I don't want to offend you, but that's where I'm at with cruises. But for some reason, man, I just see people brawling on Carnival cruises right now, and they're swinging, and it's by the pool, it's in like the buffet lines, and like, are you okay when you go on these things? Is there fights? What's going on?
Here's the thing. Like I've witnessed one time where there's actually been an altercation that's reached the point where people are slugging each other. One time have I actually seen it on a cruise. I mean, I've never been to Carnival. I know everyone, when
I thought you were a
when
big
Hayes,
Carnival
when
guy.
Hayes and Luke come on, like, oh, he's on a Carnival cruise. What a clown. I'm not the Carnival cruise guy. I usually go on Royal Caribbean or MSC or one of those two is usually the spots that I cruise with. But there was one time in the dining hall, of all places, the dining hall. Everyone's sitting down, having your nice family dinners. And there was one family, I don't know what the hell happened, but all of a sudden a brawl breaks out between like three guys. I think it was like a brother and a brother-in-law, and
So
then
it's
like
in-family
fighting happened.
That's crazy, man.
That's the one thing that I've seen. I mean, there's some stuff, but when people get a little liquored up, and obviously, sometimes at the casino there's some shouting with people. I mean, I've been at some tables
for sure.
I've been at some tables when people don't play properly. I'm a big blackjack guy. My father, same thing. He gets a little more
let me just go on that
overzealous than I
tangent
do.
really quick, okay? If you're playing at like $5 tables or $10 tables,
But they don't have that anymore.
They don't have
That's
that
the thing,
anymore?
Frank.
Your
try to-
$25 tables?
No, you try to go to a casino nowadays. Like it's at least $25. Like that's the minimum.
That's Vegas for sure. I didn't know if on like a cruise they still had cheap tables. But
You could find some, but
if you're-
very few and far
if
between.
you're playing $10 hands and a guy decides he wants to hit on a 16, so be it, man. Like, what do you expect? You're playing at the $10 table, but you start playing at the $50 table, and guys are pulling stunts like that. I can understand being
Right.
a little upset when you take the dealer's 10.
For sure. And that's why, if you're smart, you don't play at those tables. But sometimes you don't have any other options. Like that's all that's out there is like a cheaper table. But also, those tables aren't available some days, and you got to go and sit on a $25 table or $50 table even sometimes. And you got people pulling nonsense, splitting tens. They're hitting on bus cards. There's some nonsense that happens at the blackjack table. Things can get out of hand there. I've never seen a physical altercation.
So you're safe. You're okay.
But
You're not
verbally,
seeing
there
these
have been
things.
some verbal jousting, I will say at the very least. But, I haven't witnessed an actual brawl at the tables. But
Okay.
it happens. I've seen those videos. And the Carnival Cruise
I
is
don't know
known
if
for
it's like,
that.
It's like some kind of epidemic right now, man, where it's just like, here's another one, and there's a brawl happening. It's hot, confined spaces.
Lots
People
of
are losing
alcohol.
money,
They're liquored
people are
up.
drinking. People
Yeah.
are eating too much. Maybe they haven't taken a dump in like 3 days. I don't know, man. But that's what's going on my Twitter feed.
That's funny.
I wasn't really thinking about,
Me getting into the fight.
The fecal matter thing.
That part?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but that just kind of popped in. Anyways, I'm glad you're okay. You haven't been on a cruise in a while.
No, I was when I go my June, not too far off. I was wondering. June. Actually, I took a phone call no more than 20 minutes ago. I did get a call from my father. Apparently, he was invited to a cruise like in 2 weeks, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? You off?" I'm like, week 1 of the NFL season. We've got some picks to make that week, so I won't be able to take the time off. Because I think we'll be ready to go to start making some picks.
Yeah.
The NFL's coming close. Dude.
NFL's coming up. I wonder this. Like, if Keegan Matheson and Tommy Pham were on a Carnival cruise, who swings first? Keegan or Tommy?
Tommy's swinging first.
Tommy's swinging first.
Like, that guy's looking for fights.
After a bat flip on a 4-pitch walk.
I don't understand what went through that guy. Look, he's a loose cannon. Like, he's kind of always been a bit of a weirdo, eccentric. Remember there was that situation a couple of years ago where him and Mike Trout got into it because of something to do with fantasy football. Like, Trout picked up some guy off the waiver wire in fantasy football. Like, Tommy Pham last night in the game against Pittsburgh Pirates, we're showing it here on TSN right now. Literally a bat flip after a 4-pitch walk, and then turns around and just starts beaking Tyler Heineman and walks back to the catcher. And Heineman's like, I wasn't talking to you.
He wasn't even talking to
him. Yeah, and after the game, they're asking Heineman, like, oh, what happened with Pham? What'd you say to him? He's like, I didn't say anything to the guy. He just turned around and started charging at me. Like, I don't understand what the hell's going on with that guy. Not in the lineup tonight, though.
Because
not in the lineup.
Because there was a Scherzer fastball coming in at 95 right at his kneecaps today.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
You think?
And it's coming Wednesday. Like, it's happening at some point. I don't think you can just do that. And we know the code in baseball. Like, it was.
Well, they might just hold him out. It's like there's 2 more games in the series. You might just hold him out.
This is what I was thinking watching that last night. Like, first of all, take your base. Okay. Second of all, what are you getting all worked up about? You play for the Pirates. 20 games below 500.
Yeah.
And you're worked up because the catcher mumbled something and you thought it was directed towards you. It probably wasn't. Like, when you're playing sports, you get frustrated at yourself, sometimes a teammate. You're not always saying something derogatory towards the player you're playing against. So Heineman can say whatever he wants. Pham can have his reaction, but it kind of just looked, I don't know. Look, he
was looking for something, man. He was looking for something, and I don't know why he was looking for something. He said that it might have had something to do with one of the pitches, and possibly Heineman may have said something under his breath about one of the 4 balls that he got. Thought maybe it should have been a strike.
Great, big deal.
That happens all the time.
It's not like he said your pants look stupid or your swing sucks or anything like that.
But he didn't even say it to Pham. I mean, Pham just good eye, laid off it. All right, it was more so the umpire behind him, and he's thinking, man, that second one was a strike, right? Like, that wasn't direct. If that wouldn't have been directed to Tommy Pham, would have been directed to the guy behind him. Like, it really was just nonsense.
Stupid, you know what's really stupid, too, is the fact that Keegan tweeted something out after the game. Keegan didn't tag Tommy Pham in the tweet. No. So, obviously, whether someone sent it to him or he types his name in on Twitter after games to see what people are talking about, like, he replied to Keegan Matheson's tweet, and he said something along the lines of, like, I know the strike zone. Like, he's a young guy. I'm an older guy. I've been around. I know the strike zone. Okay, bro, if you know the strike zone, like, maybe you'd have an OPS higher than 700, and maybe you wouldn't have been on your 10th team in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
So, so Keegan last night tweeted, Tyler Heineman told me he didn't say anything, and that he was just as confused as he was about why Tommy Pham decided to charge him and the benches end up clearing. And Tommy Pham decides to quote tweet him and basically saying BSing about a ball not being called a strike to the umpire when it's clearly below the zone is always disrespectful, not only to the umpire, but to the hitter as well. Like I said, when I flip the bat, bleep him, Keegan. Dude has 2 years in the show. I know the zone. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, you know the zone.
Yeah.
If you knew it so well, A, you wouldn't be playing for the Pirates, and B, you'd be a better player.
Yeah.
But you know the zone.
He's had a long career.
For sure, yes.
He's been in the league. I didn't realize how long he's been in the league for. Like, Tommy Pham is a guy, he's 37 years old.
Yeah.
But, like, to be in the league that long and to still be doing stuff like this, like, it's just a super immature moment for Tommy Pham last night. not a good look on baseball. But he's not in the lineup tonight, so we're not going to have to worry about any of those wild antics. But they took to Twitter after the game and made some inflammatory comments toward my guy, Bam Bam Barger. You see what he said about Barger?
I did see that, but he deleted that.
He did delete that.
So he was talking about the fact that Barger he's accusing him of using PEDs, right? And was that ever like public knowledge that he did, or?
Well, he was never officially suspended for that, but there was some sort of leave earlier. I saw something on a thread online that he missed some time or he's placed on like a designation list, and it could have been something to do with that. But there was never anything that was purely he was suspended for steroids, the way that, like most PED people are suspended. Yeah, like Elvis Martinez last year, A-Rod Clant, like all that stuff, right? I don't think it was anything that was ever officially in the books,
man?
but
How about
still.
Just play ball? How about just play ball?
Yeah.
How about just take your base? You don't need to, you didn't do the Joey Bats home run
Dude,
in
he
the
pimped
ALDS.
a walk. Who pimps a walk?
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
You're 20 games below 500, and you're playing a team that has legit, World Series aspirations at this point. Mind you, that wasn't a great game for the Jays. There were some funky things that happened. Schneider gets ejected. The Tommy Pham incident. There were a number of errors. That wasn't a game that I would say is characteristic of where the Jays have been at the last little while, but it happens, and now they get right back at it tonight with no Tommy Pham in the lineup.
No Tommy Pham, but you got Max Scherzer in the lineup for the Blue Jays, and this guy's really starting to come on as of late. Mad Max is back. You look at his last 4 games, he's gone at least 6 innings in each of the 4 games. He's getting into the upper 90s in terms of pitch count, which is significant. When you look at earlier in the season, the guy couldn't throw 50 pitches without that thumb aggravating him. So now he's up to 90. Seems like that thumb issue is in the past, and he's striking guys out. He's got a 6-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio over those 4 games. This guy's pitching right now and takes on a not so great Pirates offense, who did put up some numbers yesterday.
Again,
errors, but still errors. Very sloppy game for the Blue Jays overall. A couple of 3 errors last night. Very uncharacteristic for them. Vladdy leaves the game with an injury. He had an MRI today.
How about the splits that I feel like we've become accustomed to it because
we had that one last week. That one last week.
The one where Bichette was almost basically in the outfield.
He was at the edge of the outfield. Yeah. And it was a great play by both parties. Bichette to get that ball, to get it, put enough on it to get it to Vladdy. And for him to get into the splits and pick it off, it was terrific.
That was crazy by Vladdy. I can't believe for a guy that size how flexible
I know. And he's worked on it. And, that's the one from last week. And then last night he had another one where he had to get down into the splits and pick off a play. And he did, but maybe tweaked something. I don't know. He had he left the game with left hamstring tightness.
Now, they say it's precautionary.
Yeah.
And the thing about the hamstring is...
Not in the lineup tonight. Should mention that.
Yeah.
Also not in the lineup tonight after that.
Yeah. MRI, I believe, last night. So they'll get the results at some point today. Yeah. The hamstring is an interesting one because, I've tweaked it, training in the summer. It's not something you really hurt when you play, when you skate. But it is more of a running thing. It feels like it can get caught often. But if you take enough time off and you do it the right way, it doesn't really bother you. But if you come back too early, you'll go for a sprint and it'll snag and you're like, oop, there's that hamstring again. So the Jays have kind of built up a little bit of a luxury here that if there is something, even though it's, precautionary, an MRI is probably going to come back negative, or if there's something there, it would be very minor.
Right.
You can take a little bit of time off. This is not something that's going to sink the Jays. It's not like they're living by every game right now. You have a little bit of a flexibility to just let it heal because you need Vladdy, man. He is. I don't know how you've been describing Vladdy the last little bit, but I remember earlier in the summer we were talking about the lack of home runs. Guy's just a ball player, man. Yeah, he does it all. Tough at bats, does a great job in the field. He's kind of just become this well-rounded, very good ball player. It's not all about the home runs for him, and that's more than fine because he's contributing so many different ways.
Absolutely, and the power's starting to come, not necessarily in terms of him putting up Aaron Judge-like home run numbers. I don't know if we'll ever see him get to that point again, but he's putting balls in the middle of gaps. He's legging out a bunch of doubles. So the multi-base hits have been there, and he's been hitting very clutch. I think he's got an OPS over 1,100 over the last calendar month. So the power is starting to come. But overall, like, this guy's been one of the best hitters. You look at his statistics over the course of the last month, like, he's number one in the American League in most offensive categories, whether it's, average with runners in scoring position, OPS, overall average, hits. Like, he's second behind Bichette in hits. The Blue Jays have, the first and second place guys in the American League when it comes to hits. Yeah. So, like, the Jays offense is they've really arrived this season overall, but he is clearly the catalyst of what's cooking there. So the Jays better hope that it is just precautionary and they are not going to be missing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for any extended period of time, and hopefully he can come back. Couple days, let him rest it up, let him go get some treatment, go to the trainer's room, rub it out, and do whatever he's got to do, and then get back for the finality of this big race. We got, 5-6 weeks left?
The game gives and the game takes away, right? Yeah. Like, everyone's been pretty healthy for the most part this season, and we'll see how it shakes out with Vladdy. But you get good news, like Shane Bieber, he's going to start.
Coming back Friday. Yeah.
So, that's a little bit of an injection, too, to see where he's at the major league level. It gives him a pretty good runway, too, to get some starts under his belt and start
should get 5 or so starts, maybe a 6th start.
Pretty good, man.
Yeah.
And like you said, like Scherzer, I don't know where we had the over-under at to start the year, especially dealing with the injury that he had early on. But the fact that he's healthy, pitching well, like, the fact that he's worried about every game now, every start.
Yeah, the fact that we're in August, like mid to late August, and we're having serious conversations about this guy taking the ball in game 1, 2, or 3 in a playoff game is significant. Like, that's big. Like, that was the hope, obviously. But if you had to put a Jerry's percentage on this conversation happening today back in April, when the guy couldn't throw more than 50 pitches without his thumb acting up, like, you're probably pretty low. Like, you're in the teens, 20s of that happening. And now seems very likely. You're looking at what? What are your Jerry's percentages at this point that Max Scherzer is a game 1, 2, or 3 starter?
70 something, like,
I think it's higher. I think it's probably like 84%.
Yeah. I think at the start of the year when he was hurt, you probably, and I was feeling this way, a little scarred based on the way things went last year for the Jays, where it almost felt like anything that could have gone wrong would go wrong and did go wrong. And you're like, oh boy, here we go again, just going to be a continuation. And the script has flipped so much to the point where, Bichette and Vladdy are the two best players offensively. The
Springer
rotation,
Renaissance season.
Exactly. Yeah. So much has gone well that, guys like Joey Loperfido don't even get an opportunity anymore because he was playing so well. And you're like, that guy came out of nowhere and did what Addison Barger. So everything has gone well. And now you look at it and you say, you're going to milk the last little bit out of Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
It's kind of all coming together, and you're getting a Shane Bieber start in the middle of August. And presumably he's healthy enough to keep the ball rolling. It's crazy what a difference a year makes.
It's good to be a Jays fan right now. It's definitely good to be a Jays fan. A lot of things looking positively. Rob Longley of the Toronto Sun, he's going to join us at 6:05, so we'll get his thoughts on what's going on, an update potentially by then on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Noah Hiles, a Pittsburgh Pirates beat writer, will join us at 4:30, get his thoughts on Skeens' start last night, and if he's had any interesting interactions with Tommy Pham, because a guy who's in that locker room every day, I'd imagine there's been an altercation or two potentially, some sort of run-in with Pham over the years. So I'd be excited to ask Noah Hiles about that. But Mike Jones of The Athletic going to join us at 5:05 as well. The big news of the day in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts announced their starting quarterback. And look, I'm a Colts guy, right?
Your Indianapolis Colts,
my
buddy.
Indianapolis Colts. And they're going with Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson. And I think it's quite significant, the fact that they've decided that they're going to do this. I mean, they invested a massive haul into Richardson. They took him with the 4th overall draft pick. They gave him 2 years to develop the resources to get him to where he had to be. And they ultimately decided, no, we're going to roll with Daniel Jones, who's already been a failed organization franchise quarterback elsewhere. And now they think that they're going to uncover something. I don't believe so. But what this tells me more so than them having belief in Jones there's a problem with Anthony Richardson in that locker room and with that organization. When he tapped out last year, he lost a lot of support, a lot of backers in that building. And I think him losing out into a 50-50 battle, I think supports that there's still a lot of people upset with what happened a year ago when he tapped himself out of that football game.
You know what maybe tells me that it wasn't so much of a 50-50 battle is this quote right here. He's the starting quarterback for the season. I don't want to have a short leash on that. Like, what have you watched him play?
Danny Dimes?
Over the course of his career, you kind of know, what he's all about at this point. Like, I maybe there's a renaissance to be had there. Maybe he turns it around and he becomes the guy that he was prior to signing that big deal. Like, there was a moment in time where Danny Dimes was really slinging it.
But even when he signed that contract, most people looked at him and were like, really?
Oh, a lot of people did. Everyone on this show
$40 million a year
did.
for Danny Dimes?
But that's the crazy thing to me. It's like, no, this is not like a week-by-week type thing. We're committed to this guy for the year, and we're going to force feed him into every situation we possibly can.
Yeah.
That's an indictment in itself on Richardson.
I am curious, though, when I look at those two guys, Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Colts, and Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, like it's almost a make or break season for these guys. Like last year, there was a lot of rumblings that Chris Ballard could be on the way out, their general manager. And usually when the GM gets canned, the coach goes with them. I think like choosing to kind of hitch your wagon to the Daniel Jones experiment really goes to show how desperate this team is, right? Like, because I think if they knew that they had an opportunity to potentially be with this organization long term, you'd think you'd have to ride with the Anthony Richardson train, no?
Right. Yeah, because that's like you're investing in youth in the future and like building up this player and saying like, there's a lot of runway here. Anytime something like this happens, it's like we're just kind of dealing with the here and now, and we'll figure the rest out later. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure as a Colts fan,
I'm not.
You would like to see it go better than a lot of people think it's going to go.
It's a decent draft class in terms of quarterbacks. I mean, Arch Manning, who's down in Texas, like he's the nephew of Peyton and Eli. So like the Lucas Oils, the house that Manning built. That's kind of what they say. The house that Manning built.
This is where you're all like, this crazy.
I'm already looking at the draft.
Looking at the draft.
Yeah, it's mock draft season.
Who can we draft in the top 5? That's where you're thinking already.
Daniel Jones isn't leading this team to the playoffs, Frankie. It's not happening.
No.
It's just not going to happen. Like I even as bad as the AFC South is, it's just not going to happen. Like they've got some question marks on the offensive line. They lost their starting center. They lost their right guard. They're filling them in with some guys they've drafted over the last couple of years. So you've got some, question marks on the interior. Do they have a pass rush? Can they really defend that well? Last year they got carved up in the secondary. There's a lot of question marks on this Colts team. And, quarterback is still a major question mark. So we'll get into that a little bit with Mike Jones. Frankie, you got a little bit of a list that you got to cook today.
Yeah, when do you want the list?
Well, we could probably get to that list maybe in 20 minutes, possibly.
Let's do it. We're going to do top 5 Team USA camp snubs.
Snubs. So USA put out their Olympic camp roster, similar to what the Canadians did a few weeks ago. USA, a little behind the 8 ball, I guess, on timing. They decided
wanted to get it right.
Is that it? They wanted to get it right?
Wanted to get it right.
And you think they still got it wrong because there's still wrong. 5 snubs.
I got 5 snubs for you.
They got 44 guys coming to this camp, and you think there's at least 5 that are missing out.
5 just for you.
I love it. I love it, Frankie. So we'll get to that in a little bit. And then I got a list as well.
Got a list. What's
I got
your
a list
list
as well. I'm looking at 5 emerging talents in the NHL. I figure we get some hockey talk in here with you in tow today.
We need it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Mike DiStefano with Frank Corrado. OverDrive continues on TSN 1050, live on TSN 2, and on YouTube Live.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Overdrive continues on TSN 1050, TSN 2, and on YouTube Live. Mike DeStefano filling in for Brian Hayes. Frank Corrado in with me today. And the Blue Jays coming off a 6-2 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates last night. Paul Skeens, got to watch him play, got to see him in action. It's always great to see one of the best in the biz go to town. But we can't help but not talk about Tommy Pham coming off that game. But join us to talk about Skeens, Pham, and tee up tonight's game against the Pirates is Noah Hiles, Pirates beat writer of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He'll be with us in just a moment. But isn't it wild how last night's game, we spent like 5-10 minutes talking about the Tommy Pham situation. Meanwhile, Paul Skeens pitched last night, and Paul Skeens looked pretty good. K'd 8 Blue Jays, gave up a couple runs, which mind-blowing stat for you, Frankie. Those are the first earned runs that Paul Skeens got tagged with at home at PNC Park since June 3rd.
Dude, that's crazy.
June 3rd. It is August 19th today.
Yeah.
Since June 3rd, he hadn't given up an earned run at home.
No, this guy, he's a machine. Like he's a full-on pitching machine. And it sucks that, like, sucks that he plays on the Pirates and he gets no run support. And
yeah.
It's just, we're not going to see postseason ball with him for a very long time. But holy smokes, man, he is a treat to watch.
He is a treat to watch, and a guy who gets to watch him on a daily basis pretty well is Noah Hiles, our guest right now, Pittsburgh Pirates beat reporter and of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. How's it going, Noah?
Guys, thanks for having me on. Everything's going well. How's it for you guys?
We're doing well. We're just reacting to the situation from last night. Tommy Pham, not quite sure what happened there. He ends up kind of doing a little bat flip after a 4-pitch walk, goes back to speak to Tyler Heineman, bench is clear. There were some comments post-game that were puzzling, some tweets. I mean, what's the deal with this Tommy Pham guy?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like if anyone could answer that question in baseball, it would have been answered by now. I'll say this. As someone who's covered him this whole season, he seems like a good teammate. Like, the players on the Pirates roster in the clubhouse seem to like the guy. He just seems to have one of these episodes every year, at least one of them. And he's had multiple here in Pittsburgh with the altercation with the Angels fan earlier this year. There was something that happened in Detroit as well where he got 3 fans ejected in the middle of a game once. It's interesting. It just seems like he does not have a high tolerance for things that upset him.
You obviously cover the Pirates and you see players come and go, and we know the story with the Pirates. There's not much of a payroll and the team can only be so good. Like, do you kind of get the sense every year that around this time of year, middle of August, there's some frustration setting in with some of the players?
I think so. I mean, I don't know if this is frustration related. I think this is just Tommy Pham being Tommy Pham. He could have been having a great day and this could have still happened. And if Tommy's listening, I'm not saying that as a slight. I just, going off of a historic pattern here. But overall, yeah, I think it's been a very frustrating season for the Pirates, and they're just trying to find anything right now to get them up and, get a little bit of motivation, extra motivation to play. But I don't think this was a product of the dog days of summer and ready for the season to be over type of thing. I just think this was, like I said, Tommy Pham being Tommy Pham.
In conversation with Noah Hiles, Pittsburgh beat writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and we're also kind of admiring Paul Skeens and the fact that you get to watch him pitch every 5 days. Last night, gave up a couple runs, but 8 strikeouts against a team that doesn't strike out often in the Toronto Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. I mean, how great is it to get to watch this guy on a daily basis?
I mean, these are the guys when you get into sports journalism that you hope to cover, right? Like, I was lucky enough, I started covering this team last year. My first assignment after starting on the beat was driving to Louisville to watch him make his first AAA start. And I remember watching him pitch 3 innings in his first AAA start and texting my dad saying, this is the best pitcher I've ever seen. in person. And that, when he gets up here, people are going to think, oh, he could be okay, he could be good. And I was like, I don't think people understand how nasty this guy is on the mound. And I think people learn pretty quickly. It's a show every single time. I really like watching him pitch the most when he goes up against teams with a good lineup. Teams like the Blue Jays, who are in first place right now, it feels like he finds an extra gear in those games. He always seems to pitch well against teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Blue Jays, who are in first place. You're going to get an A-game start from him.
Well, I think it's also a conversation that happens a lot outside of Pittsburgh is get Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh. And, there's a long history of the Pirates not paying their players and opting to move them elsewhere, recoup some prospects, and try and rebuild again. What's the fear that the Paul Skeens tenure in Pittsburgh won't be very long?
Oh, I mean, that's the main fear right now. That's why you're seeing so much frustration expressed throughout the fan base, is because people are worried that, this is the time to add money to the payroll. They've had a payroll over $100 million before. They've had it up to $120, which still is not very high. But for here, I mean, that's all the fans are asking for. And the fact that their biggest free agent signing this past offseason was Andrew Heaney in late February, and it was a $5.25 million deal. They haven't spent a ton of money in free agency over the last, really ever. And if you're not going to do that, then you would at least like to see them invested in other areas, maybe extend some guys. And they haven't really come close on that front since extending Mitch Keller a couple years ago either. So there's just a real question by the fans as to what's the commitment here. You have probably the best pitcher on the planet, and you have him at a very premium price. He's free arbitration for another year, and he's not the only good young pitcher in this organization. They have a lot of talented young arms, and that's the toughest thing to find in baseball is affordable, productive, reliable pitching. And they have that box checked, but they refuse to seemingly invest on the other side of the game, and it cost them a season. This season was over before it even began, and knowing that you only have 6 at most seasons with Paul Skeens, probably less if you're going to trade him, you'd like to see them make the most of that opportunity, because if you can get this guy into the playoffs, he's someone no one wants to face in a 7-game series, especially if it lines up where he gets to pitch 2 or 3 times. So fans are frustrated. I think players are frustrated. He said on record he hopes to see the team do more this offseason. Andrew McCutchen expressed a similar thing. They just got to go out and do it because like I said, no other team in baseball has this type of weapon.
Well, I guess if you looked here in the AL East, you would look at a team like the Rays and say, well, that's a team that doesn't spend a ton of money, but they draft well and they produce good talent and they're a competitive team. And every once in a while, it just kind of pops off with, not having to spend the way the Dodgers or the Mets spend, like not even really coming close to that. And that's something that I think would be very attainable for the Pirates. And if you showed, like the fan base, if you showed the fan base that, you'll see people, go out to PNC Park, which is one of the most unbelievable stadiums in the majors. And all of a sudden, it's like, that little investment in the grand scheme of things can do so much more for your organization. But I don't even think fans don't even see that happening, like Tampa Bay Rays level of investment.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't signed a multi-year free agent since 2017. You're not going to be a winning organization when that's a true sentence. I mean, their general manager is entering – it's year 6, and he still hasn't achieved that. He signed 3 big extensions, but, I mean, they're just so far behind on the financial side of it. And like you said, it doesn't take a ton to win. The best team in baseball right now, the Milwaukee Brewers, they're not doing this with a huge payroll. What's their payroll, like 115, 120, something like that? And, yeah, the Rays have found ways to do it. Cleveland is always competitive. I mean, you could go down the list. Milwaukee, Oakland, a lot of small market teams. They find a way to compete. You can have poor success as a front office, and you can be cheap. You can't be both. And that's kind of what's the problem for the Pirates right now.
With Noah Hiles, I'm always intrigued to get an outsider's perspective on the 2025 season that the Blue Jays have had. Do you view this team as serious contenders this year, Noah?
I think so. I think anytime a team comes out of the AL East, you have to take them seriously. I mean, that's because you're going up against two teams that are always seemingly in the mix with Boston and New York. And then, Baltimore, that was my pick to win the World Series this year. Well, shows what I know. I don't know why you guys are having me on the show after I said that. But, I'm impressed with Toronto. I think the investment they made in Guerrero, I think, might have provided a little bit of a spark just to show. And, I mean, you're getting a lot out of some guys that you probably didn't expect to get this much out of this year, and they're a fun team. I was worried a little bit that when they got hot in July that they might be peaking too early, but it seems like something they're able to sustain, and I'm excited to watch them in October. I have one of my really close friends is actually a big Blue Jays fan, so I would like to see them win for him.
We'd like to see him win as well. Would definitely provide a lot more content for us on this program. Noah, really appreciate taking time to join us today.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Noah Hiles, Pirates beat writer, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And, it's got to stink to be a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. You get an all-star talent like Paul Skeens. You get to watch him pitch, but you know that it's only going to last another 2 years because they're not going to pay him.
Yeah.
They're just not going to pay him. So it's like, do you bother going down to the park and getting invested in this team and getting invested into Paul Skeens?
You go while you can, right? Like you'll go whenever he's
you go one in every 5 games. You're going to go.
Well, not even one every 5 because you're going to be on the road,
right?
So you'll go when Skeens is pitching at home. You'll also just go because that's one of the best ballparks ever.
Yeah,
like
I haven't been, but it's on
amazing.
my bucket list of places to go. PNC. Yeah. I think I saw a stat before yesterday. So prior to yesterday, 50% of his last 10 home starts, the Pirates have been blanked. In 50%.
Crazy.
So 5 of his 10 home starts, last 10, the Pirates have put up 0 run support for him.
That the ownership group there has always been like a contentious spot for Pirates fans. Just their unwillingness to spend money to invest in the team. It sucks because that's obviously Pittsburgh, man. That's such a great sports town.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Steelers, Penguins. When Penguins were winning Stanley Cups, you don't think Penguins fans are dying to have like the glory days again? Steelers fans are always going to be there. They're always going to be rowdy. They're crazy, but like that's the kind of sports town it is. But the Pirates just get stifled because their ownership won't spend any money. And now you got this golden ticket, and it doesn't take much, man. No one says you have to be the Mets or the Dodgers.
Give them a playoff game.
You can be better. You can be better than what you're doing. And a guy like that, you put him in a playoff game, you're probably going to win that game.
Yeah.
Very good chance anyways.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get there. Like we're talking about a team that's 20 games below 500 at this point. Like that is a lot of work to do on that roster to get to a playoff spot, even with the wild card being the way it is now. Like they're light years away.
They're far away. I mean, the offense is terrible. A couple nice arms, of course, but the offense not very good. Keegan Matheson actually tweeting out just moments ago, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just has some inflammation in his left hamstring. Good news for the Blue Jays at this point, and John Schneider sounded relieved. He's day-to-day, and they could potentially use the off day on Thursday. So not playing today, not in the lineup tonight. Sounds as though he won't be in the lineup as well tomorrow, and then with an off day Thursday, maybe out and rest up that hamstring and get him going Friday when they start against the Miami Marlins, which, of course, will also be Shane Bieber's debut with the Toronto Blue Jays. So that'll be a fun game on Friday if that's the case. The return of Vladdy, Shane Bieber makes his start. That'll be a much anticipated game in Blue Jay land. All right, let's take a break. Let's come back. We're going to get to your list.
Fire up a list.
All right, we'll fire up a list. Still to come, Mike Jones getting some NFL talk. Rob Longley get more updates on what's going on with the Blue Jays. He'll join us at 6:05. And Mike DeStefano and Frank Corrado. You're listening to OverDrive on TSN 2, on TSN 1050, and on YouTube Live.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Overdrive continues on TSN 1050, TSN 2. Mike DiStefano, Frank Crotto with you. And Team USA put out their Olympic list for the guys that they've invited to their camp. That'll be underway in a couple of weeks. The Canadian doing the exact same thing. Their camp kicks off a couple of weeks from now in a bid to, see who's got the chops to be an Olympian. Very excited to have Olympic hockey back, by the way. I'm excited beyond belief because it's been so long since we've had it. I know we had the nice little taste with the Four Nations, but the Olympics just brings it to a whole other level.
Yeah. And keep in mind this, it's going to be on NHL-sized ice, right? So there's not that whole conversation of, do we have to take so-and-so because it's the big ice? It's going to be similar to an NHL-style game. It's not going to be Four Nations where they're fighting 3 seconds in, but it's going to be NHL style. Anyways, I haven't done a list this summer.
Okay.
I haven't done one. It's the first list I've done. And keep in mind, there's probably the team's probably picked to a certain degree. We'll see how certain players play throughout the course of the year. But with a 44-man training camp roster, we're talking about guys that are generally on the outside looking in. But I came up with 5 guys that I think deserved a look.
At least be at camp.
To at least be at camp. These are 5 guys. You ready?
Camp snubs, if
Camp
you will.
snubs.
I like it.
All right. Number 5, Nick Schmaltz of the Utah Mammoth.
Ooh, Nicky Schmaltz.
He's a good player. He's a versatile guy. He plays center, plays the wing. He's been a consistent producer. He's one of those guys that I think if you're looking for a little offense lower in the lineup, you can have him there. If you, for some reason, which I don't think you would because they're really, really stacked and loaded up top, he can play with skilled players higher in the lineup. And just looking at who they picked, there's some guys that you could say he's quite comparable with. Anyways, that's a guy who I think, American guy, probably deserved a look. I have him at number 5.
All right, Nick Schmaltz.
Nicky Schmaltz.
Comes in at number 5. I mean, he's had a couple of nice seasons out. Was not in the desert anymore. Now he's out in Utah.
He's in the mountains now.
But, the kid, career high last year, 63 points with
the numbers
Utah,
don't blow you away. This is the thing with the numbers don't blow you away, but you watch him play,
the role player.
Skilled guy, and I think, he would be able to play up and down. Might be one of those guys if you brought him to camp and you watched him in a, something like that, you're like, that guy's better than I thought.
Yeah.
Right? He just kind of gets buried based on where he's played
does the right things type of guys.
If he stayed in Chicago the whole time when they were humming, we might talk about him more.
Right.
He kind of got to Chicago as they were on their little spiral. And
coming in at number 4.
Number 4, Brock Besser of the Vancouver Canucks.
Besser wasn't invited? I assume that he would have been. You're right. He's not.
Brock Besser is not invited to this camp. Here's the list right here.
So I saw Brock Nelson, and I think it just assumed that'd be Besser.
So Brock Besser is not invited. He scored 40 goals 2 years ago. Last year was a down year by his standards. But this is a guy who, he's not the most fleet of foot, but you need a goal. You need a guy who can play on the power play.
Oh yeah.
Brock Besser, and I think last year he had to find something. Just because the team wasn't playing very well offensively, I thought Brock Besser had to be a guy that went out and got the puck more. I think in the past it was more JT Miller is going to fish it out, or someone's going to do some of that grunt work and get to my spot, get ready to take a shot. He had some goals where he had to go behind the goal line, chug it out to the front of the net. I think he probably did some stuff that he wasn't necessarily accustomed to doing. But Brock Besser, really skilled player. And a guy that with puck on his stick could be a difference maker.
Absolutely. That's a big snub. To be at number 4
you think that's
on your
a big
list?
snub?
I think that's a pretty big snub, yeah.
All right. So number 3.
Go ahead.
John Carlson of the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, it's a good one.
John Carlson he's not invited to camp, and I don't for the life of me understand why. Because John Carlson played on a Washington Capitals team last year that was unbelievable. He was playing 23 minutes a night. He's consistently been one of the most underrated defensemen for me, anyways, when we talk about the premier guys around the league. He's still got lots of game. And with John Carlson, we're not necessarily talking about, bring him to camp because in 4 years he could be on the team. We're talking about the here and now. Here and now, John Carlson, like he
could be on this team.
He could be a guy that you look at and say we could find a spot for you.
Well, we're taking a look right now up on TSN2 of the defensemen that were brought to camp. So there were 16 defensemen brought to camp, and you try and look like who your 6 guys who you feel comfortable with. Probably Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, Jake Sanderson, Jacob Slavin, Zach Werenski, right?
Brock Faber was really good.
Put
at the
Faber in there in that.
Probably
put
if I was
Faber
picking
there.
8 guys, that's probably like Faber's in there.
Yeah. So I wonder if they just didn't even want to bother him because they
Maybe
look
they
at
didn't
it
want to bother him, but
and they want to get a look at some other young
sure,
players.
you
But then why?
Pionk or Brett Pesci? But then, okay, so let's keep doing the list. Okay, so I have John Carlson at number 3. At number 2, I have Thatcher Demko. And him not being invited, I have a few questions about that. Is that we asked if he wanted to come to the camp, but he said that he's still dealing with some stuff and wants to be ready for the season in Vancouver because he's been banged up so much? Or do we not believe that he's capable anymore because of the injury and what he had to go through last year? So they invited Joey Decord, who's a very good goaltender.
Yeah.
But
over Thatcher Demko?
Well, okay, so tell me if you disagree with this. Of all the American goaltenders, and if they were healthy and playing at the top of their game, and you needed one guy to win one game, who's got the best chance of doing that for you? I'm picking Thatcher Demko.
Are you?
I am. I think listen, everyone's healthy, everyone's at the top of their game.
Over Connor Hellebuck?
Win me one game. I think Thatcher Demko, when he's in the flow state, I think is the best American goalie. The thing is, he hasn't been healthy, and because of that, he hasn't been at the top of his game.
Right. And that is a big concern, a question. Like maybe he's not even ready to be at this camp.
Right. So
like,
that's the question mark for Vancouver.
Know. Yeah.
Anyways, so we got a minute left. And
all right,
my number one snub, you know who it is. It's Lane Hudson.
Outrageous.
Lane Hudson was not invited to the USA camp. And that's one of those ones where I think you say, okay, you might not be on the team this year, but come be around the boys.
Right.
Come be around Team USA. See what it's all about.
2030, he should be there.
He's been at the World Juniors. He's been at the Men's Worlds. Like, he's done the USA hockey banging the drum thing. And he just set all kinds of records this year. Most points by a rookie defenseman in Habs history. Most assists, rookie defenseman in Habs history. Tied Larry Murphy for an NHL record. Most assists for a rookie defenseman. And he doesn't make it. This is a head scratcher for me. Even if you think he's not going to be on this team, I think it's worth having him there because this guy, if he keeps putting up numbers that he did and they keep going up, he's knocking on the door in 4 years. And there's guys you invited to this camp who are not going to be relevant in the grand scheme of things for this team in 4 years' time. So Lane Hudson's the biggest snub.
It's a massive snub. I can't believe someone's going to have to answer for it. Well, someone's going to have to answer.
That's our
not
list.
having.
We'll get back into it. We'll chew the fat on that a little bit more.
I got another list. Mike Jones going to join us next here on OverDrive.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Last segment, you had music for you. Now it's music for me.
Are you doing picks or something? What are we doing
Oh, the NFL picks are coming soon, buddy.
Ooh.
The NFL picks are coming soon. Mike Stefano, Frank Corrado with you here. Hour 2 of OverDrive now underway. I'm gearing up. Were you watching the preseason game last night? Are you preseason football guy?
I was watching Jays last night.
Yeah, it's fair. That's totally fair. I mean, I'm flipping back and forth. I'm keeping an eye on what's going on a little bit.
Although,
but
what was with Joey Burrow, man? He was taking a beating last night.
Dude, it's concerning. It's concerning how bad that offensive line still is in Cincinnati. If he had a competent O-line, like there's no doubt in my mind that Joe Burrow would be up in the same tier as Patrick Mahomes. Actually, there was a list that was put out last week by The Athletic. And essentially, they polled a bunch of NFL executives, and they said, all right, who are your top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL? Mahomes was 1A, and Burrow was 1B. Actually, it was a tiers list.
Yeah.
And they were both put in the number one tier, but it was just those two by themselves with Lamar and Josh Allen a step behind.
Buddy, I felt bad for this guy watching that because
insane.
It's preseason, it's August, and this guy is running for his life. And there's massive.
This is why I don't play your starters in the preseason.
But they're like, okay, that's one thing. Why are you playing him? And second of all, why are you playing him when you have a terrible O-line? And like he's already getting demolished. You look at him. Like I saw a clip of him kind of standing on the sidelines, looking at one of the tablets. Like this guy looks disheveled already.
Like I got a second and a half before I got guys screaming down my neck.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
I don't know. I don't. Can you take me through that decision? Like why does he need the reps this early? Like why does he need these preseason reps?
So the Bengals traditionally get off to a horrid start, and it's cost them a couple of years. Like last year, they didn't make the playoffs because they got off to a bad start. They lost to the Patriots last year. Only won a handful of games, but one of them was a week 1 win against the Bengals. And I think in the Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow era, they're like 1-7, I think, in weeks 1 and 2 so far together. So that's the big reason for it. They've gone off to unbelievably slow starts. So the thought process is, well, maybe it's because we're not playing these guys in the preseason. We'll give them some starts. We'll give them a couple of series, and maybe come week 1, they'll be prepared and ready to go. Like that, and in theory, it makes sense because what you've done the last 4 years has not helped early in the season. So you try something different. I do appreciate that, but try something. The thing you want to try differently if you're the Bengals, maybe try putting together an offensive line.
Yes.
For this guy.
Yeah.
That's what should have been done. Whether or not he plays in the preseason should not be priority number 1. Making sure that he's upright through the preseason and through the rest of the season should be priority number 1 for this team.
Yeah, it was like, dude, it was concerning seeing him go through that. Like the other thing with Joe Burrow, like your season kind of just hinges on him. Like everything hinges on him. So how is that not, with all the lead up time that you have, how is that not the first priority as far as what gets addressed?
You would think that it would be. You would think that they would start investing, instead of paying T. Higgins a whole bunch of money as a wide receiver too.
They probably had
invest in the offensive line.
They have to pay T. Higgins, but
why?
Because you need talent. Like you
got Jamar
around.
Chase.
I get it. But more like we always talk
Chase
about
Brown.
Got all these weapons, right? Like
right, but if Burrow's as good as he is, he'll turn a guy into him. Hey, did you see that wide receiver last night? Who was absolutely making plays. What was his name? I'm trying to remember.
For the Bengals?
Mitchell Tinsley.
I can't say that that's a household name.
It's not a household name, absolutely. He was an undrafted free agent last year. Actually played for Washington and ended up getting cut. So it was a bit of a revenge game. They named him a captain ahead of the game. Apparently he's been making plays all camp. He was unbelievable last night. Like that guy made the roster.
Yeah, but how
with
much
the game?
Okay, he makes the roster. It's preseason football. How much of that do you think translates to, from making the roster to being a big-time player this year? Or does he end up just being one of those guys that's thrown into the shuffle and you never hear from him?
Well, what you like about it is how it looked. So like a wide receiver, it's a lot easier to look at a receiver and say, okay, he's done some good things. The way that he adjusts to the football, the way that he's high pointing a football. Like there's just some certain things that you could look at and be like, yeah, that can translate. For sure that can translate. And that's what we saw last night. He had 2 touchdown passes that he caught. He was 5 for 73, 2 grabs. Both of those touchdowns that he had were unbelievable. The adjustment he had to make on the first one was unreal. And then the second one, he had to go over the DB and then bring it down and get the little toe touch in the back of the end zone. And he was able to do all of that. Now, it wasn't with Burrow.
Tinsley's a player?
I think Mitchell Tinsley.
Tinsley's a player
He made me a fan. I'll say that. He made me a fan. Now, obviously, he's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Like he's not gonna outsnap those guys. He's not gonna take them off the field.
Yeah.
But he definitely made a name for himself last night. And the preseason could do that.
All I want to hear from you is 1 week, maybe it's week 5, maybe it's week 10. When you're doing your picks, I want you to go out there and just talk about how Tinsley is going to go off for a massive night and you're rolling with
Take
the
the
Bengals.
Tinsley overs tonight.
Yeah.
Take the Tinsley overs. Yeah.
And Hayes is going to look at you like you got 3 heads or something.
Mitchell Tinsley.
It's
But
like,
yeah,
I've
remember that?
heard of this guy,
remember that week
but we're
2
rolling with Tinsley.
that week 2 preseason matchup against the Commanders? He was unreal. He's getting a shot with T. Higgins out of the lineup. I'm telling you, man. The guy is going to be the player. Joining us now on the Maple Toyota hotline, Mike Jones, NFL senior writer of The Athletic. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well, and we're just talking about last night's preseason game. Joe Burrow played a couple series, and how concerning is it that the offensive line still can't keep him outright and give him a pocket?
Yeah, it was concerning, but also I try to remind myself that, look, there hasn't been a whole lot of real hitting going on in these practices. So this is kind of the first time that a lot of these guys are getting that type of action, and so you kind of try to pump the brakes a little bit. But I tell you, the way that line was concerning, and also just the ease with which Washington moved right down the field in that first one, because they spent, resources and made changes to try to upgrade their defense. And so you're kind of like, man, you would have liked to have seen a little bit better, even though, again, it's the preseason, first live action for a lot of these guys. So you kind of try to be a little patient with what you see.
Are you having patience with Mitchell Tinsley, who was the guy who really popped off last night? Do you think he could emerge into a guy? Is this someone who Frankie was talking about week 5? Could we be talking about him as a potential player for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, you would hope so. It's, sometimes you see guys that struggle in the preseason and wind up being okay. It's kind of rare that you see guys that really shine in the preseason and then wind up being nothing. There's always they find a way to make sure they contribute. That's where, guys really kind of prove themselves, establish themselves. So I think that, you can hope that he would build on that and continue to elevate.
What's your initial thoughts on Daniel Jones being named the week 1 starter for the Colts? And not necessarily just week 1, but the quote coming out that, like, this is our starter for the season. We are not, giving this a short leash.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think you got to be concerned, because if your best option is that you've got Daniel Jones as your quarterback, you know what Daniel Jones is. I don't think that he's going to have a revival or renaissance like we saw with, Sam Darnold. It's concerning because they invested all that in Anthony Richardson, and we've seen him make a couple plays that, make some throws. You're like, wow, he really has some potential there. But then you see him really make a lot of throws where there are more struggles than not. And you were hoping that he was going to grow, develop, make some, improvement. And we just haven't seen that. And so the fact that they are not just riding with him for a little bit to see if he works his way out of it, and that they're just already pulling the plug and saying, hey, we're going with Daniel Jones, that tells me that he's not doing what they were wanting him to do, and that was part of the issues with him last year, was the approach that they wanted him to take to the game in preparation, and he wasn't. And so, yeah, I don't know what the level of optimism can be. I know they've got a good defense. I know that they've got a good run game, so maybe they're hoping that, okay, hey, if we run the ball a lot, we lean on our defense, maybe we can, get something out of Daniel Jones. But as far as, like, the ceiling, not too high.
No, and I'm a Colts fan. I grew up a Colts fan, and I do not have high expectations on the team this year. But I can't help but feel like possibly, this could have something to do with what happened last year when he tapped himself out of the game. Like, how much is that still lingering, you think, within the organization and within the locker room, where they just, in a 50-50 shot, they'd rather go away from him than with Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, you would have hoped that, okay, after that, which was so embarrassing, that was just such a bad look, you would hope that, okay, he would kind of gotten his head right in the offseason and realized, hey, I really got to bring it. I've got to change my approach. And I don't know who's in his ear, what kind of mentorship he has, but it doesn't seem like, I think if he was trending upward, they would have been patient with some hiccups or some missed throws and things like that. But the fact that they are going with Daniel Jones tells me that, yeah, he has not won them over. He has not regained their trust. And they'd rather go with a guy that they know is limited but carries himself like a pro than a guy that's got all the ability in the world but can't get the job done and doesn't have the right approach.
With Mike Jones of The Athletic, Colts Week 1 taking on the Miami Dolphins. Colts are favored by 1.5 points on FanDuel. Which coach needs that win more, Shane Steichen or Mike McDaniel?
It's hard to say that Week 1 is like a must-win situation, but I think the guy that's under the most pressure of the two would probably be McDaniel, just because of the fact that they have had, last year was, a really injury-plagued season. When Tua wasn't in there, they really just weren't competitive. When he was there, they had a chance. And then they've had some really disappointing ends to the season. And so they're waiting. They've finally got to find a way to turn this thing around and really start winning some meaningful games. And so I think that, if you're McDaniel, you want to come out with a strong statement against a good defense and get that win there. But again, Steichen, he's under pressure as well. And I think because of that pressure is probably part of the reason why he didn't want to continue experiment with Anthony Richardson, and so he's like, hey, we need a solid guy. We need to get a win out of the gates. And so we'll see if it plays out. But, yeah, I would go with McDaniel. But Steichen, ownership change, with Jim Irsay passing, we don't know what that leash is like that he's on. And so he wants to come out there and get a win to start things off right.
When we started the show today, my co-host Mike, who admitted that he's a Colts fan, we were talking about the Daniel Jones thing, and he right away goes, yeah, well, Arch Manning's coming up. And I was like, so are you already just like forfeiting on the season and saying like you're getting ready for a top pick in the draft? Is that a reasonable outlook for a Colts fan right now?
I mean, it's so hard to know what it's way different in the NFL. And so I think that, hey, you never know what could happen again. In this division that they're in, the opportunity is there. There's nobody that's like, obviously Houston has repeated as the divisional. Don't start, thinking about Arch too soon, because you never know. There's also some talk that Arch might not come out, next year. So just let's focus on right now and see how that all plays out.
Is there a team, like if this Daniel Jones things work, or maybe even if it doesn't work and it's just time for Anthony Richardson to move on, is there a team that you think would have some interest, or maybe that would make sense for them to go down that route and try and trade for him?
I don't know, man. I don't know that he's shown enough for you to want to give up a premium draft pick, or a few good draft picks to get him. When I'm looking at the teams that need quarterbacks, I don't. Again, he has not done anything to instill any type of confidence. It's not like, even Justin Fields last year when he went to Pittsburgh. At least Justin Fields had some flashes And so Pittsburgh was like, yeah, let's get him, and we'll have him behind Russell Wilson. And then he played well enough that the Jets were willing to make an investment in him. I don't know that Anthony Richardson has really shown enough, but maybe this is good for him to sit behind the veteran, and relearn. Because when you think about it, I don't think he even has a total of 2,000 snaps between college and the NFL. He's very raw still, but that approach has got to be something that's got to change. And so I don't know. You got to have a really stable quarterback situation, and you can take on a project guy. And I don't know, who's in that position who would be willing to give up a pick, for a roll of the dice.
Mike, you put out a piece in The Athletic today. Anthony Richardson was not part of the top 25 under 25 list, that's for certainty. But you polled a bunch of various front office members. Was there anything from your findings that really surprised you about the list?
It surprised me that a number of people were kind of just felt like Brock Purdy is average. He was on the list last year. This year, a number of guys felt like, I'd knock him down so that way I could bring up some other people. This is a guy who, has, played in the Super Bowl, and he runs their system well, and he got paid. But again, a lot of people feel like, hey, it's more so the system, and they don't feel like he is, a game changer type quarterback. So that was interesting to me. Another, interesting thing is just the respect that Jalen Carter after last year really, a lot of people felt like he is, one among the top, two players in the top 25 or 25, and also, a lot of people really spoke highly of Brock Bowers. And so, yeah, it's always intriguing. Again, everybody has their different top 25, and there are a lot of people are like, how come they didn't have this guy? How come, he's not on here? But it's always just interesting, and it's fun to talk about as well.
What are your expectations for Cam Ward this season?
I don't know. I think that Brian Callahan is a good offensive mind, but they're still trying to build that roster up so it's adequate support for a young quarterback, and that's something that will really help go a long way for him. It's funny because he's the top pick, and there's just not that buzz about him, but maybe that's good for him that he's able to fly under the radar. They're in a place that's not a huge media market, and so we'll see. But I know that they really got to rely on the run, and I think they will because Bill Callahan is the line coach, and he really believes in that. So we'll see. I'm very intrigued to see what his development process is like.
If you go back to when Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud came in, like both those guys kind of went in different directions, and I think a lot of that with Young was the environment around him. C.J. Stroud had a much better environment. Is right. Cam Ward somewhere in the middle there? Do you see it kind of going one way as opposed to the other? Like, I guess if those are the two kind of models for how it could go, which side do you kind of hedge closer to?
Yeah, in Houston, they had a really good defense. And so, that was something that really helped. But then just C.J. Stroud was just very accurate as a passer and really understood the concepts that were there for him. Bryce Young, they did not have a lot to work with. So I feel like, Tennessee's roster is not in the advanced stage that Houston's was. So I feel like they'll be somewhere in between. I don't think the cupboard's quite as bare and the situation's not quite as bad as what it was in Carolina, but still just not quite, playoff ready, which is what Houston's defense was definitely.
With Mike Jones, out in Dallas, the Micah Parsons situation still has not found a resolution. And early in the process, it sounded like there was an assumption that eventually Jerry was going to bend the knee and give him the money, much like he's done with a lot of contract standoffs prior. Does it feel like maybe it's getting to a point where this one could end differently and maybe Parsons is not a Cowboy this season?
No, I don't think so. We're not there to the regular season yet. And so I think that Jerry Jones he loves the attention. He loves the drama, whether it's good or bad, that people are talking about them. And so I still think that he'll drag this thing out, and then just before it's time, he'll go ahead and get the deal done like we've seen him do times before.
But doesn't that lose its cachet a little bit? Don't players look at that and say, okay, man, here we go. Jerry's going to do the same thing that he does every single time. He's going to play it up. It's going to get drawn out, and I got to deal with all the stress around it. Or has it just become like a known thing, like between the agents and the players? Let Jerry do his thing. We're going to get the number, and eventually it'll be good. Jerry just likes to get all the eyeballs on us. Like, I don't know. It's so weird because it's supposed to be like a working, cohesive unit, the same team. Yes, these contract negotiations happen, but it feels like it's Jerry's going to do his antics, and you just got to put up with it, and then eventually you'll get paid.
Yeah, well, part of that, I think that's maybe part of the reason why Micah Parsons still came there during the OTAs when he could have skipped that, and he decided to come because I think that he has to know, it's going to get done. Now, he's there during the hold-in to avoid the fines, and I know it is frustrating for players. We saw CeeDee Lamb, on Twitter talk about, kind of make a remark about it. But I still think that, there's part of them that feels like, yeah, you know what, it's frustrating, it's annoying, but it's going to get done.
Mike, really appreciate taking the time to join us today. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Mike Jones, NFL senior writer from The Athletic. He joined us on the Maple Toyota hotline. Drive the built-in Canada. Fuel-efficient, fun to drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. I don't know. I'm starting to lean towards this feeling a bit different. Like, at what point does Jerry have to look at himself in the mirror and say, you keep losing these contract stalemates to these players? At some point, don't you think that a man of that stature wants to win one of these?
Maybe Jerry doesn't see it as losing, though. Maybe it is winning for Jerry, because Jerry does this thing where it gets all the attention. And if we weren't talking about the Cowboys previously, well, you are now, because there's a big marquee player who doesn't have a contract, and it's, everyone's taking up the oxygen about it. And eventually he signs them to market value, which is basically what everyone gets these days. Like, does anyone get significantly above market value? I don't know. Like, I guess Deshaun Watson did. Sure, but that's not, that's not like that's not a reasonable barometer.
No.
Everyone gets basically, you
reset the market a little bit.
That's what everyone does.
But
that's eventually what Micah Parsons is going to do. And everyone will have talked about it. And Jerry will have everyone talking about Cowboys, and the, team valuation's going to go up. And it's just, I don't know. It's another day in Jerryland.
I guess it just, I don't know, at some point, don't you feel like his pride eventually is going to get in the way? And everyone's talking about essentially how weak he is as a negotiator. As a businessman, I would think that he wouldn't like that.
Maybe, but I don't know. I think it's hard to know, man. He kind of just goes to the beat of his own drum,
Well, I think we have a clip here. Adam Schefter was on his podcast earlier today, and apparently these two parties have not had really a whole lot of communication. There have not been any advancement in contract talks. Here's what he had to say on the situation.
Deal done if you're not even talking. And the two sides haven't had any negotiations since late March or early April. And it sounds like at this point it's personal. It sounds like each side is dug in. The Cowboys have come out and said what they said publicly at the start of training camp, which Micah didn't like. Micah came out and asked to be traded, said he was ready to move on from Dallas, which I'm sure they didn't like. And right now, both sides seem to be angry. Now, have other people put those feelings aside in the past and figured out a way to work out a deal? Yeah. I don't see that happening here. I see these two sides headed towards a divorce in time. The only question is, when is that divorce going to happen, and how is it going to happen? Are they going to trade him now? Are they going to trade him after this year? Are they going to move on when? But it certainly doesn't feel like these two sides want to enter a long-term relationship together. That's the way it feels today, and we'll see if they do anything to change that before the regular season begins in a couple of weeks.
So, I mean, like, Adam Schefter believes that they're going toward a divorce. And I would say if you feel as though this is not a long-term partnership. If you're the Cowboys, you're better off. Like, you're way better off moving on from him now than you are a year from now. Like, you're better off making that plan, trading him, getting whatever draft picks you can for him, which a lot of teams will line up to take Micah Parsons off their hands and give him a hefty sum of money.
Every team would take that guy. That is a legitimate difference maker.
Yeah,
that
he's
wins
a
you games.
superstar pass rusher who can get to the quarterback. That's one of the most important things to do when you're playing football. If you can get to the quarterback, take him down, sack him, put pressure,
Who does
force
it
him
better
into
than
turnovers. Not a lot of guys,
There's
man.
a very, very short
Yeah,
list of guys, and it would be debatable at best who does it consistently.
TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. Like, it's a 3-man list, and there's a massive drop off after that, I would think, when it comes to rushing the passer. So I don't know. It's got a bit of a different smell to it. It does seem like there is maybe it's no longer amicable. Well, in Dallas.
Here's what I would say about Schefter's video, like his quote. When he's talking about it, and he talks about it in a way that makes it seem like it's doom and gloom and it's not happening, that's everywhere. And everyone's talking about it. And that's exactly what Jerry Jones wants. If it's like, yeah, you know what, they're working, that just kind of gets slid in. But this is exactly what, the game plan is for Jerry Jones. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's diabolical.
Well, I
it
wonder,
makes no sense. Why not just pay the guy his money and move away from this whole charade? But he kind of, I don't know if it amuses him or something, but this is the way it kind of goes down. Like Schefter talking in his hotel room saying that, yeah, they're, it's going to get done. That doesn't move the needle for a guy like Jerry Jones.
Right.
That moves the needle, though, because that's everywhere today.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. This could be just a maniacal plan for Jerry, for everyone to keep talking about the Cowboys, because we've been talking about this since camp started a month ago.
Sure.
It's just been ongoing all offseason. So there could be something to it. We'll see if we get anything at some point. All right, coming up on the other side, confirm or deny. Time to get us some confirm or deny. Rob Longley still to join us as well. Mike DiStefano with Frankie Corrado. You're listening to OverDrive on TSN 1050, live on TSN 2, and on YouTube Live.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
Well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, it's time for Confirm or Deny. Mike DiStefano with Frankie Corrado here on Overdrive. You know the way it works. Make a statement, you confirm it, or you deny it. We'll start with hockey.
Please.
Lane Hudson will be the next defenseman to hit 100 points.
I'm going to deny that.
Don't like Lane Hudson to hit 100.
I like Lane Hudson to hit 100 points. One day, I think Cale Makar would do it first.
Yeah, Cale Makar probably would. I wonder, was this supposed to be like a guy who hadn't hit that mark? Actually, has Cale hit 100?
I don't think Cale Makar.
Maybe he hasn't hit 100
points.
You're right.
I don't think he's hit 100 points. No,
you're right.
He hit 92 years ago, 92 last year.
Yeah.
And I don't think Quinn Hughes has hit 100 either.
He hasn't hit 100
The last
either.
guy to hit 100 was the Erik Karlsson year.
Right.
And he won the Norris. So I would probably say, in regards to the pecking order of who gets to 100, Makar plays on Colorado. They score a lot. Montreal's probably going to score a lot. They're going to score a lot.
Yeah.
Demidov, they've got some good players. This kid had 60 assists last year.
Yeah.
I would say I'm going to deny it based on the Makar factor more than anything.
Yeah, I guess I'll deny it too because it's essentially Lane Hudson or the field. And
That's such a haze line.
Right?
That's such a hazy
Well, you just feel better with the field than you do with Lane Hudson. But look, 100 points is like, again, that's not something that happens every day. Like that is an outstanding number to get to. And, the fact that Lane Hudson's even in the conversation to maybe get to 100 one day is pretty impressive stuff. But yeah, like Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, like Zach Werenski was flirting with it last year, the season that he had in Columbus. I think that's a team too that is going to score a lot more over the next few seasons. Could he maybe get into that range? Potentially. So I would feel better with the field and deny that Hudson's the next guy to get there. But
you
one
can
day
take the
possibly.
field, but there's like three guys, really,
right,
that you would put in that category.
Right, but you think he gets there? You think he hits 100 at some point in his career?
100's a lot, but, I wouldn't put it past him. The guy just had a 66-point rookie season as a he's 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the NHL's a hard
Not good
league,
enough
man.
to make Team USA, though.
No, he's snubbed for camp.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to play in the NHL? And this guy waltzes in sub-6 by quite a big margin and throws up 66 points, 60 assists.
Yeah.
Like
you got to watch him.
I think he's just scratching the surface. 100 points is a lot, for sure. But if anyone's going to do it, it's probably this guy.
Yeah.
Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes. Like those are the guys that are going to do it.
All right. Moving on. Micah Parsons will be on a new team before the start of the regular season.
Dude, this is a deny. We just went through this. This is how the whole thing plays out with Jerry. It gets a lot of notoriety, gets all the clicks, all the headlines. Jerry gets to be front and center everywhere. And eventually the number, even if there's no communication made with the agent, it's one phone call. It's market value plus 5%. And it's a massive number. And here you go. And it's like, there you go. Like it gets done that quickly, I think.
I'm going to confirm it. I'm going to confirm it because I don't think Jerry wants to lose this one. That's how I just don't know if he wants to lose this deal. And I think Micah Parsons has gotten to a point where he feels disrespected. And in his, beliefs is, well, I now need to be the highest paid pass rusher in the NFL. So if you're not willing to do that, don't even call me.
He of course he's going to be. He's the next man up.
Yeah, he is the next man up. He's the next guy up, but the way that Jerry Jones has been talking doesn't feel like he believes that's the case.
So why
he didn't want to sign him in the 30s last year. Now he's going to sign him to $45 million?
Why draw your line in the sand at Micah Parsons? Like, why
that's
is
a good
that
question.
the one where you decide I'm now going to be firm on market value?
He certainly should have. Of the 5 contract standoffs, 4 that I could think of in recent history, right? Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and now Micah Parsons. This is probably the one that you wanted to bend the knee a little more than the others. Like Zeke, that made no sense. Giving him the contract at his age, at that position, made no sense when he decided to give him all that money and do everything that he wanted for Zeke. For Dak, there's always question marks on Dak. To have him set the market as one of the highest paid quarterbacks of all time at that point made no sense.
That was
no
fear.
success.
That was fear because if you look around the league, teams that don't have a good quarterback,
they're junk. They're trash.
Terrible. So if you don't have Dak, okay, what are you? You're way worse.
You are.
Which is a scary proposition.
But they overpaid him.
Yes, they did. But they had to.
But now they're in a cap situation because then they do the exact same thing to CeeDee Lamb. And now they're in a situation with Micah Parsons where it's like, all right, what are we going to do here? Pay him a boatload of money again, just like we've done to everyone, and lose this contract negotiation again? I don't know. I feel like maybe Jerry's sick of losing. I think he might want to finally win one, and either Micah's going to have to tuck his tail between his legs, walk in and say, fine, I'll sign a 1-year deal. We'll get this thing over with, and we'll sign or I'll play. And we'll play out the year and see what happens.
Buddy. Future Indianapolis Colt. You hope.
I do hope. I certainly do hope. I'll take Micah Parsons on that team. The Cleveland Browns named Joe Flacco the starter yesterday.
Super Bowl 47 MVP.
Confirm or deny, the Browns will start 3 or more quarterbacks this season.
I'm going to confirm 3. 3's a lot, though, but I'll confirm it. So there's Flacco.
Yeah.
Is there Pickett? Kenny Pickett? Right?
He's in
there.
the mix, yeah. So right now they got
Shadur Sanders would be like 4th or 5th.
Dylan Gabriel is the other guy who's there.
3's a lot, but it's not a lot for the Browns. That's the crazy thing. Like if you asked me this with even the Dolphins, right? Like 2 is susceptible to injuries.
Yeah.
I would take the under on 3.
So what if we changed it to confirm or deny they will start 3 or more quarterbacks this season without having to do so via injury? Like they just move down the list.
Injury. No, it's injury for sure. Because like Flacco's so old. And then eventually maybe you start a second guy if it's Pickett. You get bad performance. You get into the last
I have my over-under for Pickett starts at 0.5, and I'm taking the under.
Sure. But
Pickett,
okay, so I'm just doing the roadmap.
Oh, I
right?
know.
Like Flacco gets hurt. Pickett plays. You don't like it. You're like, let's throw a young guy a start. And so that's how you get to 3 if you're the Browns. I'll confirm it. It sounds crazy to say, but just because given the Browns' history, I don't know. It doesn't feel that crazy based on what's gone on at the quarterback position there.
Yeah, I'll confirm it as well. But
You're
I think
confirming that?
I'm going to confirm that, yeah.
Wow.
I am going to confirm this. Just because, Joe Flacco's not your future. And you just took a guy in the 3rd round in Dylan Gabriel, who you obviously like. You spent a day 2 pick on him. So Joe Flacco gets, this team ends up. Look at what their schedule is the first 6 weeks of the season.
Dude, over under on wins, you could probably, what is it, 3?
It's more than that, but it's going to be, it's probably
They're
pretty
low. They're going to get humbled in that division.
Dude, for week 1, they've got the Bengals, then the Ravens, then the Packers, then the Lions, then the Vikings, then the Steelers. Those are their first 6 games on the slate. It could be 0-6.
Could be.
To start the season.
Although the Bengals, historically, like you said, don't start very well.
You're right. They don't. But you would hope that now that they're playing preseason games, you're going to reverse that trend.
Yeah.
And beat the Browns week 1. If they don't beat the Browns week 1, boy, oh boy.
Yeah, you'll have to come up with a new game plan. Like maybe get an O-line.
Yeah, that might be the case. But like you think about it, after those 7 games, they'll probably, at most, let's say they win 1 of them. Like realistically, they're not going to beat the Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, and in Pittsburgh. I just don't see it happening. So they could be 0-6, 1-5. Then they're taking on the Vikings, and then they got the Dolphins they play. That's a game where I circle and I think, okay, that's a little spot for Shadur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. But if either of those 2 falter over the course of the next few weeks after that, you move to the next guy. So I think they legitimately could want to get a look at both of those quarterbacks. But if you're not winning games anyway,
no, they're not going to win games. They're not.
Mean.
They're in way too difficult of a division.
Right. So you start off 0-6 your first 6 weeks. Okay, you're moving away from Flacco, going to Dylan Gabriel. Let's say.
All right.
He goes 1-4 and 5 starts. All right, let's see what Shadur Sanders has. Like that's how I see the season going for the Cleveland Browns.
All right, buddy.
Personally.
Okay, there we go.
All right. We got time for what? Yeah, we got
a
for a
few
couple more here.
Let's let him fly.
Bobby Webster will outlast Ross Atkins in Toronto.
Yeah, now, this is a tough one because Ross is he's a man of the people now. He's up in the 500, not in the 500s, but he's going into the bleachers. Oh, sorry. Shapiro was up there. Yeah, Ross Atkins. But the thing is, they're like a package deal.
They're tied at the
hip.
They're
tied
right
together. Shapiro and Atkins. They're basically one and the same. I'm going to say that Bobby Webster will. I'm going to confirm this because of the new promotion. When you're out of the firing line, call it, and now you're not just the GM anymore, you get a little more autonomy. You get to make some decisions. You can move some things around. I think there's probably a longer shelf life there. Also, the Raptors aren't in win now mode. So it's like when you look at what the next 10 years could look like, it could be, okay, we're building for a few years. Okay, now we're on the cusp for a few years. Now we're entering our we're trying to compete years. What's that? That could take 10 years. Okay, 5 years, 6 years. But you know what I mean?
Bobby don't have that type of time.
You can stretch that out.
I'm going to deny it. Honestly. The Bobby Webster quasi-promotion, I don't know if you can look at it like that. Essentially, they just decided, okay, what Bobby's been doing since the day we fired Masai, he's going to keep doing that, making basketball operations decisions, and we'll appoint him as the head of basketball operations. But I don't think that necessarily puts him in a long-term future.
You don't think so?
No. If they viewed him as a long-term future, why would they made him president of basketball operations and general manager if they're going to give him a stretch? I think that they look at it and basically it's a prove it, right? It's Bobby, you've got this year to prove that things can go in the positive direction. If not, he's out of there next summer. And they're going to bring in a whole new crop.
Wow.
They didn't make him president for a reason, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to think. If they felt like he could be the long-term plan who could turn this thing around and bring the Raptors back to stardom, they probably would have appointed him president and keep him with the general manager title for this year. Maybe they go out and they get a GM to work underneath him afterward.
All right.
But I think Ross and what you've seen here in Toronto this season, things are looking on the up and up. And I think this is a team that could be competitive for a long time. They've got Vlad in tow for the next 14 years, right?
Get Bo done at some point.
If you can get Bo done at some point too, now you've got your 1-2 punch going down the lane here over the next few years. So yeah, I'll deny it. I think Ross will be in Toronto longer than Bobby Webster.
Okay.
All right, we'll go back to football quickly. Is it Super Bowl? It is Super Bowl or bust this season for Sean McDermott and his future with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, you would think so, but I will deny the Super Bowl or bust thing. I think you're constantly just saying this team can make whether it's the right decision at the right time. And I think, a lot of that comes down to
McDermott.
Him. That's on him for sure. They've made improvements, or they're saying at least that they've made improvements to the defensive side of the ball, which is not necessarily the thing that has hurt them or lost them the games at the big time. I think if they continue to kind of knock on the door, I'm going to say not this year.
I think I'm going to confirm it. Yeah, I think that they have to have that success. They got to finally get over the hump for McDermott to save his job. We were having this conversation in the last 3 years. We've had this conversation about should they move on from McDermott? Is he the guy that can get it done in Buffalo? And it's been proven time and time and time again that he just has not been that guy for the Bills. So if they can't get it done again, I think they have to go in a different direction. They got to get a new voice in there that maybe can take them into that next stratosphere. Because clearly McDermott, how many kicks at the can you got to give that group?
I know. I heard Carlo talking about it the other day on the morning show too. That I think there's a lot of Bills fans that just think this team, they're a very good team. They can't win with that guy as the coach.
Right.
They won't win the big one. That's unfortunate, but he has a chance to do it this year at least.
OverDrive brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Rob Longley still to join us. Got a Jays game tonight, taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Max Scherzer on the mound for the Blue Jays, so he'll join us in about 20 minutes or so. But I got AB's list coming up next here on OverDrive. continues on TSN 1050. Mike DiStefano, Frank Corrado in with you guys. And we've been doing these polls all summer long, doing these quarter-century polls. And this week's, we're looking at some of the worst trades in Toronto sports.
Is that right?
Yeah. Anything stick out to you off the top of your mind for worst trades in Toronto sports?
Yeah, trading Koliakovo and Steen.
That was up there, yeah. Koliakovo and Steen for Lee Stempniak.
Stempniak was fine, but like Steen turned into a stud, and Carlo was good.
Carlo was good, and he was a young prospect at the time.
Is that bad that I said Steen was a stud and Carlo was good?
Carlo was good.
Carlo was a good player.
That lost out though in the opening round.
What was it going up?
That was a first round upset.
I don't even have the bracket here. I don't know.
Dennis Mulligan for Mason Marchman. Here it is up on TSN 2. Yeah, Dennis.
But those who shouldn't have been playing in the first round.
That's what it is. That's what they had. That you can argue that one with the grappler. You had Michael Grabner to the Leafs. That one ends up going through. Okay. So Grabner over the Kessel trade is a big upset. 15 seed beating the 2 seed. You know who was in the Grabner trade, right?
Verhaeghe.
Carter Verhaeghe.
Yeah, Carter Verhaeghe.
He's had a pretty good career. Since leaving Toronto.
Yeah.
Foligno beats Jermaine O'Neal, so Nick Foligno now into the quarterfinals. So you got Grabner and Foligno.
I don't,
going head to head.
Hurt, poor guy.
I agree. I don't think that was a bad trade.
That was a good trade at the time if he stayed healthy.
I agree.
That's exactly who everyone wanted.
Right.
A gritty kind of nails forward, grizzled veteran, willing to do anything for the team. The guy's back gave out on him.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
It was terrible timing.
Yeah.
Terrible timing.
What are you going to do?
Don't do my boy Nicky Foligno like that.
Raycroft to the Leafs. The Raycroft for Tuukka Rask on the other side of the bracket. That moves on as the number 1 seed.
Worst trade. But Tyler Biggs
He
wasn't traded to the Leafs.
Well,
he was drafted.
So that was, they took 2 picks. They moved up in the draft to select Tyler Biggs.
Right. Okay.
Those 2 picks turned out to be John Gibson and Ricard Raquel.
Right. Okay.
So everyone equates Biggs to Ricard Raquel and John Gibson. So it makes sense that one cruises into the quarterfinal. I'd imagine Raycroft, though, for Tuukka Rask. That one's going to live.
That's the Tuukka Rask factor.
That one's going to live for a very long time.
And I have to think the Kadri one's moving on, too.
Roy Halladay to the Phillies, though, was brutal. It turned out bad. That's the thing. A lot of this is in hindsight. At the time, Halladay, they ended up getting some quality prospects. I think Kyle Drabeck was the big prospect they got. I believe Darno might have been involved in that trade
but the Jays
as
stunk
well.
At the time.
They did stink, but
the Leafs were trying to win a Stanley Cup, and they traded Nazem Kadri.
Well, yeah, I suppose if you look at it that way. But they brought in Tyson Barrie. How long did the Maple Leafs?
A year. He played for a year, and then Alex Kerfoot,
I get that.
I'm with
you.
Get rid of him.
I agree. It was an awful trade. It's one of the worst trades that we've seen in the last 25 years. That's why it's on this list. But how often? I know I got the buzz there, but how often have we spoke about, or was it spoken about on this very show, Overdrive, or whatever shows on the 1050 airwaves, Leafs Lunch back in the day with Andy, talking about the Leafs need a puck-moving right-hand defenseman.
I know.
All the time.
I know.
And Tyson Barrie was that, but obviously, in hindsight, did not work out for Toronto, worked out very well for Colorado. Kadri went on to win a cup, so I think he probably has an opportunity to win this one against Halladay, but that Halladay trade was brutal. They got nothing for him. You get nothing for Roy Halladay. Brutal.
That's like your cautionary tale when it comes to prospects, trading prospects in the majors. I don't know, trade the prospects, go get the stud, man. Who knows?
I'm with you.
Who knows what the prospects are going to turn into? Go get the sure thing, especially if your team's good.
Yeah, I remember the Barrios deal. A lot of people really upset that they gave up, was it Martin and some other prospect that they gave up? I think it was someone who they got for the Marcus Stroman deal. I can't remember his name, but they were really upset that they gave up those 2 top-level prospects, 2 top 100.
That lived in a van? What was his last name? Norris?
Yeah, something no, that was for Daniel Price, but that worked out well, right? But I remember everyone talking about, I'm like, dude, parades over prospects. If you're a team that's going for it, parades over prospects, absolutely make that trade, and turned out to really work out. Blue Jays in action tonight, taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. When we come back, Rob Longley will join us. Hour 3 of Overdrive coming up next.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodle, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
You probably think that you are better now, better now. You only say that cause not around, not around. You know I never meant to let you down, let you down.
Hour 3 of OverDrive continues. Mike DiStefano filling in for Brian Hayes. Frankie Corrado with me. OverDrive brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. I have my best bets coming up in just a little bit. But I noticed something on Twitter here, Frankie. Typically, you know, you're looking at Twitter. There's a bunch of nonsense whenever you're hosting OverDrive. Lots of stuff.
There? Yeah.
You get tagged in a couple of things and whatnot. You try not to look at it. But I couldn't help but notice that I was tagged in a post that one Frank Corrado made on Twitter. What is this guy doing? Wrong answers only. And it's a photo, for those who are listening on the radio, of me on my computer alone.
You got a big watch.
Yeah.
You're wearing a blue suit.
Yeah.
You're on the phone doing something on your computer.
I can assure you I was doing something that is not even remotely as professional as it looked in this
Dude,
this
it's
photo.
not that it doesn't look professional or it does look professional. It looks like you're a mob boss deciding what to do with someone who acted out of line or like owes you money, and you're sitting there and you're like,
little James Gandolfini action.
Yeah, that's what he said. Interesting.
Feed him to the fishes.
Okay, like that's kind of like it's you're pondering what to do with someone who stepped out of line.
Maybe it was Frank.
Maybe you were.
Maybe
I guess we'll never find out.
We'll never know. But you can join the fun. Go check out Frankie's Twitter. What's this guy doing? Wrong answers only. A couple funny ones. Someone said he's taking a call from a mortgage client, which is interesting. We had Julian McKenzie from The Athletic. He's on the phone with DJ Khaled.
Never know.
DJ Khaled. I've had a couple people tell me that he's like a celebrity lookalike him. I don't see it.
No.
Because he got a beard?
He got a beard.
But he's got like a long beard. That's not one that I've ever, that I never understand.
No. You're Al's bro.
You know what I get a lot when it comes to like celebrity lookalikes? You know the guy who plays Silent Bob?
I don't know this. Should I know?
What's it? Kevin Smith, I think, is his name.
Okay.
Plays like Jay and Silent Bob, the movies.
No.
Yeah, Silent Bob is.
I wish I could.
I
help
get that
you
all
with
the
this,
time.
right?
That one I kind of get.
Okay.
I do kind of get that a little bit, but yeah, we'll look him up in the at some point.
I don't know, man. You look like
before
a
the
guy
show's
that
over.
like you shouldn't cross that guy. That's That's what I was looking at. Someone said you saved 6% on car insurance
by switching to Geico. That's funny. That is funny. All right, the CPKC Women's Open is coming to Mississauga Golf and Country Club next week. Here's your chance to win a pair of tickets to the penalty box on Friday, August 22nd, a semi-private box located right by the 10th hole. Text us right now, 105050 into OverDrive, your name and your email address and number. Your tickets will include access to the suite, food and beverage, and private bathrooms. Plus, First Up will be broadcasting live from the Open on August 21st and 22nd, so make sure to stop by and say hi if you're out there on the course. See if Carlo brought his fishing rod to the course. Have you been there while he's tossed a rod into the lake or what?
Yeah, I've experienced it.
How embarrassing is that?
I like to play quick. Like if we're held up on holes, like I don't really appreciate that kind of golf. But at this point in my life, I appreciate any golf. So just getting out there.
So I was listening on the morning show, actually. They had Dylan Strome on, and he apparently hit his first ace a couple of days ago.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, recently got a hole-in-one. Apparently, there's a big celebration. He started texting all his buddies, little post-golf meetup at the Strome household. Everyone's celebrating the hole-in-one.
Nice.
Like,
wow.
Have you had this experience yet, Frankie?
No, I've never had an ace. Never had an ace.
No, eh?
Yeah. Since we're doing, I don't know why we're doing hole-in-one shout-outs, but Laura Dykin recently had a hole-in-one.
Really?
So shout out to LD.
Shout out, Laura.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, yeah.
When people talk about their hole-in-ones, though, they talk about, like, the way that I was listening to Dylan Strome this morning speak of it, it's almost like when they talk about one of the greatest days of their life. Almost as if they ask, like, if I were to ask you what the greatest day of your life is, Frankie, what would you say?
My kids were born.
The birth of your children, right? That's normal. My wedding day. Like, that's usually what people say.
Yeah.
What people want to say, those who have had hole-in-ones, they want to tell you, I had a hole-in-one on a par 4.
The thing that's even on a par 4, the thing that's even more annoying is when people say, like, yeah, that's my third ace. Like, they have, like, multiple aces.
Get outta
and there's
here.
some people that play golf for their whole lives, and then they never get one. I never had a hole-in-one, not that anyone cares, but training camp in 2016, 2017 with the Leafs, we were in Halifax, and we're staying right on the water, and 50 yards out from the water, there's, like, this little island green, and basically you pay, like, $20, and you get, like, 10 balls to try and get a hole-in-one. And if you did, you win like $500. And I don't know, people win throughout the summer. So I did it because I had some time to kill one day. And I was with a few of the guys, and I'm just, shot, whatever. Literally get to the 10th ball and plunk it right in the hole. That's not a hole-in-one. It's not on a golf course. It's not a one on a scorecard. It's only 50 yards.
Right.
That's the only thing that I could say, but it's not a hole-in-one.
But that's the closest.
And we were
you've come.
jumping around. We were having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
that's
mean,
it.
I will never. I already know this. I will never have a hole in one. I can't even hit the ball straight. I'm that guy who goes to the range and everything slices to the left. Every shot I take.
Are you a lefty?
I'm a lefty.
Yeah.
So it all goes left, and I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out for the life of me. I don't know.
Right, buddy, you got your whole life to play golf. Golf's a sport for life. You can pick it up anytime.
Well, possibly.
Although try doing it now, because once life goes on, you can't.
Once I have kids, far less time. Less time at that point. How much?
How much
less
golf am I playing?
are you
Is that what you're
playing?
going to ask me right now? Yeah, not much.
Yeah, not a lot,
much.
eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's
Well,
okay.
we can move
One
on
day.
from the golf conversation if it's
One day.
If it's scar tissue for you.
Go to the CPKC Canadian Women's Open this week. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely, going to be great. Hopefully, Brooke
Mississauga's
Henderson, the
gonna be
Brooke
great
Brigade.
track.
Yeah, the Brooke Brigade will be back in action, I'm sure. Rob Long going to join us in just a couple of minutes here. There were some updates on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who left yesterday's game with left hamstring tightness. They said he would undergo an MRI today, and it sounds like just inflammation. Just some inflammation. He's considered day-to-day, not in the lineup tonight. Expected to be in the lineup, at some point here. So it's not a long-term injury, but not there tonight. Probably not tomorrow. They had an off day on Thursday, so we're targeting possibly Friday as the day that they could get they can get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. back into the lineup. To join us to talk about that, give us an update, and tee up the game tonight against the Pirates, we are joined by Jay's beat writer for the Toronto Sun, Rob Longley. How's it going, Rob?
Hey, pretty good, guys.
So, Rob, we were just talking about the update here on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It sounds like it's just inflammation as opposed to anything super serious. Is this a dodged bullet for the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I think it probably is, but I've learned the more I follow this team, the more I've learned that let's wait until he's back in the lineup and performing at the level that he's been performing at before we get too carried away, because it seems to me anyway that anytime somebody heads to the injured list, they stay there for a little bit longer than has been expected. And I'm not saying that Vlad's going to the injured list right now. The Blue Jays believe that he's going to avoid that, but we've certainly seen Dalton Varsho fall into that wasteland. We've seen Anthony Santander gone and out of sight for so long. Jimmy Garcia as well. So it's the kind of thing with injuries you just never know. I mean, obviously the Jays are very hopeful. And the fact that the MRI didn't expose anything, that everything is okay, but hamstrings can be funny. And I would expect that they wouldn't rush him back. I wouldn't think you would see him play at all tomorrow, and then with an off day Thursday before they resume play in Friday. I think that would be your sort of the wisest and the best case scenario for Vlad to be back in.
Would you be okay with them taking a little extra time here, given the fact that the Jays have a 5-game lead over the Yankees and the Red Sox right now?
Yeah, for sure, Frankie. I think, they've got to start thinking in those terms, especially when, every time they lose, it seems nobody makes any ground on them. And I talked to pitching coach Pete Walker about this the other day, and there really is some value in having a cushion. You don't want to abuse it and take anything for granted, but when you have an opportunity to rest a pitcher, say, or a couple of starting pitchers, you do that. When you have the opportunity to give position players an extra day off, you do that. And when you have the opportunity not to rush somebody back from even the most minor of injuries, you take it until you really need to win games again. Definitely exercise some caution in this, because they've earned that right. They've earned that position, and this is the time of year. I mean, John Schneider mentioned it today in Pittsburgh that everybody's bodies is a little bit cranky at this time of year when you're 40 games away from the wire in a 162 game season. It's the grind is officially on. So yeah, take that extra time if you can do it, and then the rest would probably hurt Vlad in a number of ways or help Vlad in a number of ways.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the pitching rotation, everyone's about to get an extra day. Shane Bieber going to be getting into this rotation on Friday. Sounds like he's going to make the start against the Marlins. What expectations do you have for Bieber in his opening start with the Jays?
Yeah, I think, Mike, it's really exciting to see what he's going to deliver, because anybody that I've talked to that have seen him in his rehab games, they basically are raving about him. They're saying that everything about him, from his velocity to his location to his all his breaking pitches and stuff, is vintage Shane Bieber, like the type of performance that could be elite level starter. And that was sort of the rationale behind this trade. It was certainly a high risk trade, but the benefit of having a high reward upside to it. And everything they've seen so far against AAA hitters, you have to make sure that you realize what it was. Suggests that he is the Shane Bieber that they attempted to acquire. And in a number of ways, the beauty of it is he's going to make that first start on whatever it is, the 22nd of August. He's got a month and change to get ready for the postseason, and that means 5 or 6 starts. And if they get peak Shane Bieber on October 1st, it's going to be one of the better trades in the Ross Atkins era.
So if they get peak Shane Bieber, of course, it's going to be a great trade. Where do you think they're at with Max Scherzer? We know he's available right now, but where do you see his game at when it comes to being peak Max Scherzer?
Well, Frankie, to me, I see these guys as number 1 and number 2 for games 1 and game 2 of the postseason. Obviously the asterisk is there for Bieber, because we don't quite know what he's going to be like against a big league hitting, even though his pitch count has been up and he's done well in AAA. But I think what we've seen from Max Scherzer, and we're going to see him here in a little bit again tonight, but I think what we've seen from him over the last 3 or 4 starts is pretty special. You can see that he is not bothered by the thumb anymore. He doesn't even seem to be thinking of it. And I think that's a huge weight off of his shoulders, because essentially it's been in his mind for almost 3 seasons now. And then you look at the fact that, he's such a competitor, and his arm is going to be, I know it's a 41-year-old arm, but it's somewhat fresh, because he really hasn't had to use it a whole lot in the last couple of seasons. And I think the prospect of having those two as a 1-2 punch heading into the playoffs has the potential for being something special. And probably Kevin Gausman as your third guy. Any order of those 3 guys, the rotation could be a real strength heading into the playoffs.
And one of the guys that you, I guess, didn't mention there would be Jose Barrios, and he's seen a dip quite significantly. I think since July 1st, he's got like a 5.68 ERA. The velo's down. Is there concern about Jose Barrios here down the stretch?
I think there has to be. I think there has to be probably fairly soon, some difficult conversations with him, because they love everything about Jose Barrios. They love the competitor in him. His nickname is La Maquina, the machine. He just, he takes the ball every 5 days and gives you his best, and one of the hardest workers and one of the best teammates in that clubhouse. But his form has definitely been off for a good chunk of this season. And when you have the luxury of 6 starters, you're looking for, how do you navigate going forward with that group? And certainly for Barrios to be in the mix of the top 4, which is essentially what you need come postseason, he's got to change his form somehow between now and then. Maybe he's the candidate for a bit of a breather. Maybe you find a mystery IL stint for him. He's really driven to make those 30-plus starts every year. That's a real goal for him going into every season. But Barrios, even after his last start, sort of hinted at it that somehow the hitters seem to have an edge on him, and that's almost an admission of defeat from a starting pitcher. He's well aware that he's not going to stop working. but he's well aware that his stuff isn't at its best right now.
Last night was a bit of a weird one for the Jays. They lose to the Pirates. There's some errors. There's some pitching that goes awry. And there's an incident with Tommy Pham at home plate. Would you make of that whole sequence and some of the comments from Pham, I guess, afterwards or today when he spoke?
Certainly bizarre in the moment last night, the reaction after that walk. I mean, even if he heard Tyler Heineman mutter something about the call, I mean that happens all the time between umpires and catchers. Like, just get on down, get your butt down to first base and carry on. But the real bizarre part about it, and Frankie, you could speak to this, is like, why do you go on to social media responding to stuff in basically the middle of the night and then call out a Blue Jays player for allegedly using steroids? Like,
it's crazy.
That was nuts. Why would any professional athlete do that in this day and age?
Off of Keegan Matheson's tweet that he wasn't tagged in. So he obviously either sought that out or someone sent it to him and then went on the Addison Barger thing. Like, just play baseball, man. You're on a team that's 20 games below 500. Like, I don't know. Just play baseball.
Yeah, it was strange. And of course he's not in the lineup tonight, which is probably no surprise. But I mean, at some point, like, when does the rage end? Like, it sort of, if you watched it last night, but when he was on first base, like, it kept going for another 5 minutes at least, and clearly he carried it into the night and felt the need to go see what social media was saying about it, and he deleted the tweet, but I mean it's out there, and people had to ask him about it again today. Like, it's a story that's going to have life for a week if he doesn't let it go.
Does he go back in on Wednesday?
It'll be interesting to see. I suspect probably yes, but we'll see what happens in tonight's game. If there's any hijinks or any fireworks, I wouldn't think that there would be, but I would think that Blue Jays would want to get as far away from anything like that, because the last thing you want to do against the last place team that's going nowhere is suddenly offer up some incentive for them to get fired up. I mean, let's try to go quietly into the night here and take 2 or 3 from them at least, because this is an opportunity for them to keep building on that cushion that we were talking about earlier.
With Rob Longley of the Toronto Sun, and you put out an article recently with Pete Walker. You had a one-on-one with him. What stood out to you about what he had to say about this year's Toronto Blue Jays?
There are a number of things. Obviously, he talks specifics about the pitching staff and how he feels that the rotation can be a strength. But what I found interesting, he's the longest-serving coach on the staff there, and so he was around in 2015 and 2016, and he sees some parallels with that 2015 team. Not so much in personnel, but in the sort of the excitement around the team. I mean, these guys are loving seeing the Rogers Center full. I think it's like 16 games in a row now that have been sellouts. And Pete Walker was talking about how it really resonates with everybody. The players feed off of it, the coaches feed off of it. But he is seeing the same sort of passion from the fan base that we saw in 2015, which was the first time people in Toronto had seen it for decades, right? Because there were so many bad teams and so many bad teams in that era for the Blue Jays. So it's sort of reliving that moment for Pete, and he's noticing it on the streets as well, where people are talking Blue Jays and wearing Blue Jays gear all the time. And so I found that interesting that he's sort of channeled those vibes, because, like I said, he's seen a fair bit. He saw that team bring the passion back to baseball in the city with what they did in 2015 and 2016. And then he saw the sort of the start of the Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette era, and the great expectations that came with that, and a lot of excitement for a couple of years of that. Then through COVID, and then he saw the bottoming out last year when the team was finished last place. So to see that surge again and to see the fan base respond to it, I think that resonates with everybody on the team, Pete Walker included.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of excited about what's going on with the Blue Jays. I know I was down there for that comeback on Friday, and that place was rocking. And it'll continue to do so as long as they continue to put up wins as we crawl to the end of the season and the postseason begins. Rob, really appreciate the time. As always, pal, we'll do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Rob Longley, Jays beat writer for the Toronto Sun. Yeah, man, the city's behind the Jays.
Yeah.
It's a Jays town right now. When the Jays are hot, let me tell you, like there's no other team I feel that has such a hot and cold fan base in the city of Toronto than it is the Blue Jays. Like the Leafs, doesn't matter what they're doing. People are always interested in the Leafs. I think the Raptors have kind of gotten to that point too. But the Blue Jays, like the last couple of years, there wasn't a lot of Blue Jays hats in downtown Toronto. This year, trust me, I'm walking around, doing my rounds, going for dinner, going to patios. Everyone's got hats on.
Jays, It's everywhere.
Tons of Jays hats on.
I'm out in the
year.
burbs now, so I don't have a feel on it anymore.
Yeah.
Like the last time the Jays were like 2015, 2016, I was living downtown. You could feel it, right? Like the city's coming alive. Playoffs were coming. Team was on fire.
Yeah.
I feel like once you get a little bit out of the city, you're removed from it. You just whatever
you're not
you
walking
see on
around,
TV.
right? You're not doing the walk around downtown like you were once before.
I'm happy you're doing it though. Hey, you're keeping tabs on everyone.
Oh yeah,
you got your spots you go to.
Yeah,
Patio guy.
I love a good
You got some
patio.
patios.
Yeah, love a good patio. You go,
good.
sit down, have a beer, watch a Jays game. You know,
It's good. It's a good feeling doing
It is a good
that.
vibe.
Yeah.
The King West vibe is
King West
is
guy,
very
eh?
nice. Yeah, I mean it's in the summer. It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat in the summer.
Go down to Lakeshore by the water. You walk around there a little bit.
Well, that's my spot. That's right where I'm
You're
at.
by the
I
water.
walk down there by the water all the time.
Okay, nice.
All the time. What's that? Coronation Park. I think it's down that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I get spotted there all the time. People are like,
Yeah,
oh,
people are
Al's
like,
brother?"
"You're Al's bro."
All the time.
Really?
All the time.
What do they
yeah.
want to ask you? Do they ask you about football stuff?
First, it's Hayes is a fraud. Is usually the first words that come out of
Yeah.
people's mouths, and then it's the guys, are they beauties? And then it's right into no. You know what? It's usually ends up with the first thing people say: Hayes is a fraud, followed by dude that 40-meter dash.
Yeah,
with
that's
the O-Dog.
legendary stuff. Man.
Like that. That's typically what gets brought up right away. Is the 40-meter dash.
The 40's legendary. Sometimes you go on YouTube. I'm sure like you do the same thing, and there's your homepage, and for some reason there's like it's up there a lot.
It pops up
It
from
just
time
pops
to time.
up,
It's in
and
the
you're like,
algorithm.
I gotta go see this again. Like
Just gotta watch
I've
it.
checked in on that thing multiple times over the years, and
That's
it's still
so
the
funny.
same. Like it still puts a big smile on my face. It's still hilarious stuff.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like my girlfriend, her family are big OverDrive fans. Her dad watches the show, and when I went to go meet the parents for the first time, her dad's, I'm introducing myself, hey, Mike, and introduced myself to her brother. I'm like, Mike, how's it going? He's like, no, you're Al's brother.
You're Al's brother.
And you can't run a 40 to save your life. And I just started laughing. I'm like, all right, it's going to be this type of relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
That's all right. Ease the tension, baby.
Yeah,
Ease the
no, it
tension.
was good. It was good.
Nice.
It's been a lot of moments. We got the football season coming up though, so
Football season's
there'll be some
coming
more
up. Hockey
clashing
season's
heads
around the corner. Got an email today. We're starting up our That's Hockey stuff soon.
Ooh.
So we'll be back to spitting hot takes.
All right.
On the 6 o'clock Sports Center.
We'll tell you what, Frankie. Let's come back because I got a hockey hot
got a
take as
list.
well. I got AB's list, NHL emerging talents in the Canadian teams.
I love it.
That's coming up next. You're on OverDrive.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Just watch me dance.
Welcome back into OverDrive. Mike DiStefano filling in for Brian Hayes, the captain. We'll be back next week. Got Frank Corrado in with me, and got AB's list upcoming. And you had your list earlier.
Yeah.
We talked about snubs from the USA's Olympic camp announcement.
I got a couple honorable mentions that maybe we'll do on the back side of this.
Okay, couple honorable mentions.
We'll
I like
see.
it. I like it.
Couple guys.
So my list is top 5 emerging NHL talents on Canadian teams. So we're keeping it national.
Yep.
With the teams on the Canadian side of the border. Coming in at number 5, I've got Cole Perfetti of the Winnipeg Jets coming in at number 5. You know, he just got a nice little contract. Nick Ehlers gone. There's a spot for him to jump up as one of their best players. And I think that they need that to happen if they're going to stay in contention as one of the best teams in the country. He had a nice step up last year, got to the 50-point plateau. I think he's got another step in him to become one of the, to go from good to great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to go from a good player to a great player. That's kind of the step that I think he can take.
There's going to be more opportunity for him. He plays on a good team. The power play was cooking last year. I think it makes sense that he would take another step.
Right.
I like
and
that
with Ehlers gone, that opens a door for a little bit more minutes for him to come in and do some damage. So I got Cole Perfetti coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, sticking out west. How to get a goaltender on this list? Dustin Wolf.
Okay.
I've got Dustin Wolf coming in on my list. You know what this guy's accolades were in the minors? Like this guy,
goalie of the year 2 years in a row.
2-time AHL goalie of the year, won AHL MVP as well. And I get it. The size thing was a big concern for a lot of evaluators when it came to Dustin Wolf, whether or not he was going to be able to do it at the NHL level. Well, he's now here and he's arrived. Last year, played 53 games for the Calgary Flames, establishing himself as their number 1 goaltender. A .910 save percentage, .264 goals against average. Finished second in Calder Cup in Calder voting to Lane Hudson. Dustin Wolf is going to be a star goaltender in the National Hockey League out in Calgary.
He's really good. I would say he arrived already. Like he's here. He was a big reason why, and the main reason why Calgary was even sniffing a playoff spot. He was so good. He won the starter's job. He's actually one of my
snubs,
honorable mentions for snubs for Team USA because he's an American goalie.
Right.
But
another stud American goaltender.
He's a stud American goalie. That's what he is, man.
Need one in Canada. Got to get a Dustin Wolf.
So you have him at number 4. You have 3 guys higher than him.
Yeah, I got Dustin Wolf. Goaltending is
really good, eh?
He is really good, and I think he's going to be, a star. The problem is goaltending is one of those weird, when you're putting goalies in a list, you're going to have this problem when you got to put together your top 50 list for the NHL. Like, where do you slot goalies? Because they're not everyday players.
I know.
But they're important.
They're important, for
right?
sure.
So I thought, number 4, maybe it's a cop-out to put him in the list, but he belongs on the list.
He's athletic. That's always going to work for him, right?
Like he's not that.
He's not just He's not just like a big blocker. He has to be able to move, and he's lightning quick.
Yeah,
really good.
Great young goaltender.
All right, okay. Dustin Wolf's at number 4.
Coming at number 3, going local, Matthew Nyes. Like Matthew Nyes comes in at number 3. I think he's one of those guys too that goes from good to great. He had a big year this season, kind of a breakout, 29 goals. I think he can get even better. I think Matthew Nyes, what we've seen from this guy in the postseason, I think he's ready to establish himself as a top-line player in the NHL. Now he's got full-time up on the top line with Austin Matthews. That's the duo, Nyes and Matthews. That Arizona connection will be there. That desert line connection is going to be a thing. And now with Mitch Marner gone, that also opens up a little bit more space for him to maybe control the puck a little bit more.
Does it worry you a bit, though, not having Mitch Marner playing with Matthew Nyes? Because I feel like that helped his production last year. I think Matthew Nyes...
He wasn't on the top spot. He wasn't on the top line for the entire season.
No, he wasn't.
He worked his way up there.
He did because he was, at the beginning of the year, he was kind of inconsistent.
The third liner at the beginning of the year.
It wasn't always smooth sailing last year. It got to the point where it was like, this guy's a fixture on the top line and he's not going anywhere. and he's a difference maker. And I think a lot of that had to do with getting him minutes on the power play as well, because when they went with the 5-forward unit, Matthew Nyes became the net front guy. Right. And all of a sudden now it's like you have an important role, an important spot, and you're getting puck touches and you're feeling confident. And sure enough, everything kind of followed. But for me, I want to see him do it now without Mitch Marner.
Yeah,
there's going to be more onus put on him to kind of be a little more of a self-driving force, if you want to call it that.
And when you're getting paid, in the $8 million range, you definitely are going to have to do a little bit more of that, right? So I think for sure, there's going to be question marks there, but just the way that this guy's played, I mean, last year you could argue is the best forward up until he got hurt, best forward that the Maple Leafs had in the postseason.
Yeah.
He's just such a force, absolute force. This guy, I think that he can get 35 to 40 goals this year with the Maple Leafs. Now he's got PP one time the whole time.
75.5,
yeah.
Matthew Nyes.
Yeah, he had 58 last year. You get up to 70, 75, 35 to 40 goals. That's another leap. That's putting yourself into top line,
big boy
great
stuff
player,
there.
big boy status.
And he was invited to Team USA's camp. He was not snubbed. He was invited.
He got the invite. The next guy on my list, though, was snubbed. Lane Hutson.
Okay.
Lane Hutson coming in at number 2. Great rookie season, 66-point rookie year for the Montreal Canadiens. But he could definitely take more steps. I mean, to go 66 points in your first year in the NHL is unbelievable. But we were talking about him. He could do 100 points at some point. He could elevate himself into that Quentin Hughes, Cale Makar status when it comes to the production that he can have on the offensive side of the puck. Defensively, there's some things that he's going to clearly have to work on to get into that upper echelon of being considered the number one defenseman in the world, like Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes. But in terms of offensive production and becoming a star in the NHL, I think that Lane Hutson is definitely on his way to doing that. I got him at number 2.
You know what he's got going for him? He's super competitive.
Yeah.
Really competitive, almost to a fault, where early in the year, he didn't pick his spots as much. So he wanted to do everything every time he had the puck. It was like, to put it in baseball terms, he had to hit the home run every time. And as the year went on, he made some mistakes doing it that way, right? You get caught sometimes. And as the year went on, he did a better job of kind of thinking things through, being more calculated, and opted out
right from the
making his reads right from the get-go. So that should help. The other thing, have people figured out Lane Hutson? I would say it's going to be hard to figure him out.
Dude, that shifty.
He's that shifty.
It's so hard to stop him.
And okay, so you talk about defensively. I think the fact that he's as competitive as he is going to lead to him continuing
did you see
to be
growth?
better defensive.
Did you see growth throughout the season?
100% I did. I'm pretty sure he was top 5. He may have been top 5 for NHL defensemen when he
did it all.
And I being down there, you see him after morning skate, this guy could be the stick boy for the team. That's what he looks like. But he's super, super competitive. So he's always gonna have that edge where you're like, this guy wants to be better at something, he will be better at something.
Yeah. I think he's gonna be an incredible player for many, many years. Coming in at number 1 on my list, Frankie, Jake Sanderson. Talk about Lane Hutson being a stud defenseman, up-and-coming star defenseman. Jake Sanderson, who took a big leap last year, right? He did take that leap, becoming a 50-point defenseman. But Jake Sanderson, what this guy's able to do on both sides of the ice, and that's why I gave him, the tipping point over Lane Hutson, is he's already established himself as a shut-down type guy, like a premier two-way defenseman. But he's got another ceiling, I think, that he can get to offensively, which put him at number 1 on my list.
I like it. Yeah, he's... last year with Jake Sanderson, almost a little bit like Lane Hutson, but in a different way. It felt like Sanderson was carrying the weight of the world in Ottawa, where, top 5 on 5 minutes, power play, penalty kill, goalie pulled, shutdown. It felt like he had to do a lot of everything at the start of the year. And as the year went on, I found he just started to play. When the Four Nations kind of happened and that team was named, everything felt a little more easy for him. But he's very polished in the way he plays the game.
Yeah.
He's very, very polished, very refined. He's going to have another big season for sure. And he's just scratching the surface as far as how good he can be.
And that's what I mean. He had a big leap from, the year prior to this past season. And I think there's another gear that he can get to being amongst one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. I think he's that good. He has that much of a 200-foot game where he could put himself into that echelon as one of the top-tier defensemen. And he was invited to this camp. Like he was
not a snub. He's going. He's going to make the team.
He's going to make the team.
The team. He's on the team.
But same here. I think Jake Sanderson is one of the 6, 7 best, 8 best defensemen that the USA has to offer.
If they take 8, no brainer.
No question.
Even if they take 7, he should be on the team.
Jake Sanderson or Brock Faber, who's got a brighter future?
I think there's a higher offensive upside with Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So,
all right,
yeah, there's my
list. I love it.
There's
buddy.
a list. So Jake Sanderson at number 1, Lane Hudson number 2, Matthew Nyes at 3, Dustin Wolf at 4, Cole Perfetti at 5. The one that I really struggled with at the end, it was Perfetti and one other guy. Is there someone you are looking at that might be considered a snub? I'm curious if you can come up with something. There's one guy specifically.
One guy. Yeah. Is it Yuri Slafkovsky?
No, it was not Slafkovsky.
Okay.
I'm still
that's okay.
Still curious about Slafkovsky.
So
I think I need to see a little bit more from him.
Eastern or Western Conference?
Western Conference guy.
Western Conference.
Yeah.
Is it not someone in Vancouver?
No. Started to really emerge toward the end of the year, and I think that he's ready to pop.
Thinking it's a Calgary Flame.
It is a Calgary Flame.
And is it Matt Coronado?
It is Matt Coronado. I'm a big Coronado fan.
Good player.
I like the way he plays. Yeah, another guy who's not overly big, but plays a downhill physical game. They get 24 goals last year.
He's not big though.
No, that's what I mean.
He's a
not
goal
big.
scorer. He can put the puck in the net. All right, I got one name for you. Any team breakout candidate this year in the NHL.
Oh,
breakout candidate in the NHL doesn't play for a Canadian team. I'm picking this to be the guy that arrives this year.
That really arrives. Yeah. Logan Cooley.
It's a good name, but I'm not going with Logan Cooley.
Okay.
Adam Fantilli.
Yeah, that's the
Adam Fantilli. I think this could be it's his 3rd year in the league. He had some injuries the first year. Played a full 82 last year. Columbus is kind of
I like Columbus.
They got some firepower. They've got the coach there now again for a little continuity.
Yeah.
I think Fantilli pops off this year.
I like Fantilli a lot. I think that he's someone who definitely has an opportunity to establish himself as one of the premier
31
pivots
goals
in the
year.
NHL.
31 goals.
At 20 years old.
Yeah. And at some point they could have Columbus could have Fantilli and Caden Lindstrom as their two top centermen at some point.
That's a good
that could
young
be dangerous
team,
for
man.
a long time.
That's a good team. Zach Werenski on the back end. They could figure out their goaltending. And that Jack Greaves kid,
unreal.
He had a 936 save percentage in the last 10 games of the year.
Small sample size, right?
Tiny, but it's all right, we saw something.
Yeah.
So if he can replicate that along with what we saw offensively, because I think the Blue Jackets were a top 5 or 6 team in goals last year.
They were
scoring. They just couldn't keep the puck out.
They couldn't keep it out of their net, and they were terrible on the road. They're a really good home team. Anyways, that's my top emerging talent in the NHL, primed for a breakout year, Adam Fantilli.
Really quickly, before we get to your honorable mentions on your snubs list, there is one guy who I do find is a very polarizing player heading into year 3 of his career, Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
Where are you at with Connor Bedard into year 3?
I think Connor Bedard is a really good player and is going to have a good year, but I think it's going to be tough for him to really pop the way he should with not as much help around him as
is
he
that what
should
it
have.
is, though? Is it that he was? So is it more so that you believe he may have been a little overhyped as a prospect, as a generational talent, or is it that they haven't done anything to support him?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. Was he truly Crosby McDavid-esque generational? Probably not. But in fairness to him and in fairness to people that were making those evaluations, his numbers said he was going to be.
Right.
So how do you argue that when we haven't seen anyone do what he did at the junior level at the World Juniors basically since the biggest names to ever play? So understanding that and then realizing, Chicago tried to do the mentorship stuff with Nick Foligno and Corey Perry, and that was all probably good, but he needs guys that can play, to his level. In San Jose, Macklin Celebrini gets Will Smith, and he gets Tyler Toffoli, and, they've kind of got some pieces coming up. Connor Bedard doesn't have that. So I think he makes improvement this year, but I think that improvement can only go so far without the pieces in place. And we'll see, like that Frank Nazar, who plays for Chicago, got invited to USA camp.
Yeah.
Right? He's there. Lane Hudson had more assists than that guy had games played last year.
It's
So
interesting.
they obviously think very highly of him.
Yeah, it's funny. Frank, that was a name where it's like, that's interesting. Like the guys you said who missed, like Brock Besser, you gonna invite Frank Nazar over Brock Besser.
Alex Vlasic got invited.
Alex
Chicago's
Vlasic?
defenseman.
I like Alex Vlasic.
He's a very good defenseman.
He's a sneaky. He's a good defenseman.
Okay, so if you look at it, Bedard got invited to Canada.
Celebrini.
Who do we just talk
Nazar.
about? The American Nazar and Vlasic got invited on the American side. Like, okay, they got some pieces. They just gotta put it all together.
Right.
My honorable mentions were, one was Dustin Wolf in net, and a buddy of mine who's a Wings fan texted me. He's like, "You forgot Alex DeBrincat," and it's not that I forgot Alex DeBrincat. What I was thinking is, well, they invited Cole Caulfield, so how many small
guys
goal-scoring forwards are they going to have?
DeBrincat, was he on the Four Nations? Was he on?
I don't think he was there.
I can't recall if he was there or not, but yeah, when you're putting together a lineup like that.
I don't know. I'm going to blame JP if we're wrong, but I don't think DeBrincat was there.
Yeah, I don't think he was either.
Yeah, but like DeBrincat had a good year.
He did, but you're right. Like when you're putting together a team like this, I mean, how many of those guys do you need, right? Like you still have to get some role players that are going to be on your team.
Remember who the GM is of that team.
Yes, correct. Dougie Armstrong.
No.
Oh, the American. Billy Garrett. The American team. Right. American team. Billy Garrett. Yeah.
He probably doesn't have a lot of room for,
small guys.
5'10" forwards. So that was my reasoning on that. Cole Caulfield's invited. You're probably not going to invite two of those guys.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's a bit of it would be considered a little bit of a snub. So there it is. There's my list of top emerging talents on the Canadian teams. Again, that was Sanderson, Lane Hudson, Matthew Nyes, Dustin Wolf, and Cole Perfetti coming in at number 5. Dylan Sandberg was a name that I also considered in this little list. He's
very good.
He is very good. He's a little older, so I kind of was like, I think he arrived last year.
If you
being like a top 4 guy.
If you watch the Jets, you realize that he arrived, but if you don't pay attention to the Jets, it's not a household name. But over the course of the season, watching him,
very good defenseman.
Yeah, and like
really good.
Gonna munch big minutes. It's a big frame. He moves the puck well. Good decision making. They kind of struck gold with him, and they got him at a really good cap hit for the next little while.
Yeah, they got him signed to a very, very nice ticket. All right, on the other side, we get the FanDuel best bets. You listen to OverDrive here on TSN 1050, TSN 2, and on YouTube.
to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We got a little three-leg baseball parlay tonight. Tariq Skubal, he's pitching for the Tigers. I like them on the money line tonight against the Astros. That would also certainly help out the Blue Jays. I like the Milwaukee Brewers on the money line, been one of the best teams in baseball. They're taking on the Cubbies, and I like Andrew Vaughn to get 2+ bases in that game. He's been one of the best hitters in baseball over the last month as well. You parlay those three together, you can get that at plus 447. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19+ and physically located in Ontario. All right, Frankie.
All right, buddy.
Good stuff.
We're getting close, man. Like, I feel like NHL, I don't know. Everyone's starting to get the itch.
We're only a few weeks away from training camp. That's
A little more. We're like, what, a month away from NHL camp?
Yeah, probably. About a month. I think I saw a couple PTOs are starting to trickle in.
Lucic, PTO to St. Louis. How about that?
Yeah, I thought
Brendan Smith is going on a PTO to Columbus.
Couple other PTOs have been signed. Yeah, I thought I saw one other one over the weekend sneak in. It's PTO season.
Yeah.
You know the Leafs are going to get involved. They're always in the mix for PTO.
Yeah. They're always in the mix because I feel like they were so top heavy for so long that they needed someone to come in and take a $750,000 deal. I wonder how involved with the PTOs they're going to be this time around.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It changes now that they're spread out differently with the money.
Well, a name that continually came up a lot at the end of the season of whether or not he would return to Toronto or not was Max Pacioretty. You heard anything about Patches?
Nothing, man.
Like another guy who could be PTO.
But also, like, there's too many guys right now on the Leafs roster. It feels like something's got to give with everyone that they have. So I don't know if they're going to be in a position to bring in PTOs until they decide to make trades, or else why even if you're a player, why would you waste your time going to a place on a PTO where they have roster decisions to make already?
Yeah.
Like multiple decisions.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't make sense for other teams to get into that mix, or the players to get into that mix. Like they already have too many guys. Like we might see a trade before now in training camp.
You're a big Calle Yarncroke guy, right?
I like Calle.
Yarncroke?
I think he's a great fourth liner. A little too much money, but they got the space though. But they got the space.
But David Kampf makes too much money for a fourth liner too.
Yeah, but now that you've got Nicolas Roy and Scott Lawton involved, Kampf really, to me, is irrelevant on the roster.
Well, he's the guy that you
very
would like
expendable,
to move.
100%.
Yeah, you would like to move him because he's a fourth line center that makes $2.4 million, but he's going
to be in the press box.
He's also got some kind of muscle he can flex. Right? He's got like a 10-team or an 8-team.
Yeah, for some reason, they decided to give him a 10-team no trade clause.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quite sure why that's the case. But
anyways.
Speaking of, we were doing the doppelganger thing earlier. My uncle texted me. He believes that my doppelganger is Todd McClellan.
Oh.
Yeah. He says he sees a little Todd McClellan.
All right.
In
Once
me.
you go gray.
If I go salt and pepper, I think we'll have a little bit better of an understanding if that's real or not. But apparently Todd McClellan is my hockey doppelganger.
Who's
that? Oh, that's Kevin Smith. That's the guy I was talking about earlier, actually, from Jay and Silent Bob. The guy on the left. They say
some guy tweeted.
A lot of people say that's the guy that I look like.
Some guy tweeted and they're like, "Yikes! You don't know who that is?" Like, I don't know, man.
It's a pretty great movie, man. Jay and Silent Bob.
Right. It's not like a yikes though. Like not knowing Dumb and Dumber is a yikes.
What movie?
Okay. All right. I think we're done.
Frankie, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast, buddy. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.